Gather round me, children, I'll tell you the news. Don't worry about the names or dates, you already know it's true. The doctor hates your baby, the prime minister's a ghost, and all them folks are sailing here 'cause they're in love with boats. Superfoods can save us from all our evil sin. JFK and Elvis own a bar in Wisconsin. And vaccinations were created by the CIA to steal votes from Bernie Sanders and turn your babies gay. So click the link you think you like and get tooled for a fight against those lefty fascist communists who are leaning too far right.
Hi and welcome to Not Another Fake Newscast. I'm Paul.
And I'm motherfucking Jerry!
Oh, don't do that, Jerry.
Sorry.
I mean, have you going to record that again? No, do you know what? We're leaving it in. That's what they're being subjected to.
I was just doing it to wind you up.
See, before we do anything else, we're going to fucking advertise watches, bitches.
Alright.
So, we've got a sponsor. The sponsor is called Holzkern.
Holzkern.
Yes. So, their watches are shit hot, right? So, you
But
know,
they're German.
you know, usually they're Austrian. You know,
Alright, cool.
Usually you get that.
So is Hitler. Right, sorry.
I'm sorry, Holzkern.
No, we love you, Holzkern. We actually do.
So, you know, usually you listen to a podcast and they advertise like fucking Casper mattresses, which we will happily advertise, or one of the other things, you know, fucking Blue Apron or whatever, and you're relatively confident they're just fucking advertising something and they don't use it. Me and Jerry are actually sitting here right now wearing Holzkern watches. They're really fucking cool.
I love mine. It's like black, made of wood and some kind of metal, and it's automatic. I don't even need to put a battery in it.
He doesn't even know what automatic means. Just works.
It's like kinetic. It just makes the time go. What? It's 4:15 in the morning right now, isn't it?
Yeah, but Jerry, you have to move to get to be automatic. Like it's kinetic, which means you can't just lie there.
But it's on my wrist. Wink.
That's why it's 2 days past.
But yeah, they are absolutely amazing watches in all seriousness.
My watch is made of wood and it's got a sodalite face, so it's like made of stone and the blue face of it. It's light as fuck. Like I can't begin to stress. It's such a pleasant thing to have on my wrist.
I only saw Paul's for the first time tonight, and it's. I'm talking about his watch, by the way. I've seen that loads of times.
Seen Venus lots.
It's also made of wood. Hey, but no, I was struck by how cool yours is.
Yeah, I mean, they are very cool. Mine's also a limited edition. It was only 200 made.
Nice.
Just, you know, bragging rights in it.
So yeah, if you want to get involved in that, then go to the link, which we will have in the show notes. And do you know what the website is?
It's holzkern.com/EN.
Cool, yeah. For the English site.
For any of our English listeners, for people who are foreign listening to us first, sorry, because that must be a fucking nightmare for you. But and on top of that, yeah, they have the other websites. We also have a link,
code.
Offer code, yes, that's what I'm looking for. So that's NANFC.
No, NAFNC.
No, I forgot the name of our fucking
Not
podcast.
another fake newscast. NAFNC 15.
And you'll get 15% off your watches. They're really good quality. I mean, they come in a really cool box and stuff as well. Like the box is quite nice, and it's got magnets, and it's wood, and it's on a little pillow thing, and you know the whole process is rather pleasant.
So that's the last advertising you're going to hear from us this episode. But yeah, check out Holzkern. We are Not Another Fake Newscast, and we are available on www.notanotherfakenewscast.com.
Yeah, we're on @PGMcast on both Twitter and Facebook.
And if you search NAFNC on YouTube, you'll find us on there as well. We're also @PGMcast on Patreon. And if you like what we're doing and you think it's worthwhile, you know, donate $1 or whatever a month and help us cover our costs. That would be cool. We also have a merch store, which you can find on the website, where we have cool t-shirts and awesome speed punk motorcycles.co.uk. Doug has made us some amazingly cool leather key rings, and you can pick one of those up if you just send us a private message or get in touch with us on Discord or send us an email on info@notanotherfakenewscast.tk.
Right, I think that's all the housekeeping and shit, isn't it?
Yeah, let's get
Right,
involved.
good. So next what we'll do is apologise for this whole episode because I'm literally back from holiday from a day where I've worked in between then, and Jerry's also been away for the whole time.
Yeah, I've been
So-
on holiday in Northern Ireland.
So we've been aware of the news, but it's very difficult to study the news when you're, eating, drinking, having fun, and trying to ignore the fact that the world's falling apart around you.
Yeah, so if any of this seems ill-informed or incorrect, then we apologise and just let us know which bits we got wrong. But, it should be fun, and we're going to have a drink, and it's a monthly roundup episode, so it's all a bit loosey-goosey.
And we never use that term in real life. That's it. It's a bit loosey-goosey.
I went for it.
Did you say that?
I did.
You fucking creep.
Loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey. It's
so-
not even nice at all.
I think, following on from the open...
Holscomb watch advert.
Nazis. I mean, what?
No, like Holscomb, you haven't like Holscomb are they're just like young Austrians who like to make things out of wood.
No. Aye. That's the only comparison is the Austria-Germany thing. That's it. They just
But
make
you brought Germany into it. There was no comparison. They're simply just an Austrian
and also
company.
Holscomb make things run on time
Like trains.
or whatever.
That was in Italy.
I know, but it was fascism.
No, but you're now just connecting fascism. It was for the emperor. Oh, Japan. He's just throwing in all the axes we can.
Well, they use wood, and paper and wood are both made from trees, and they have trees in Cambodia, where Pol Pot reigned for 20 years. I don't know.
And welcome to Jerry's tour of fashion. Not fashion, fascism.
Fascism.
Not fashion.
Oh, do you want Jenny's tour of fascism? Don't wear glasses in Cambodia. Pol Pot will have you killed. So we had an interview with Open Democracy, Peter Gagan and Adam Ramsey. And if you haven't listened, have a wee listen. But I sort of mentioned towards the end of that there were some things that we perhaps missed or not touched on in terms of Aaron Banks' finances that we would kind of bring up a wee bit in this episode. So I'm going to kind of quickly go through that, and then we can get on to the stuff which has come out about Mr. Aaron Banks since then. So a couple of the major things. One of the donations which he gave to...
Did you just say Remanger?
I don't know what I said. A couple of the major things.
Alright, I thought you said Remanger.
A couple of the Ramoners.
Like, no, Remanger is a person who wants to stay as baby Jesus.
Away in a Remanger.
No crib for a bed.
So...
Because of Brexit.
Well, that's it. I think...
There was cribs prior to Brexit, but Jerusalem had a clear stance on Brexit. They wanted to leave the EU. And that's what happened.
no cribs.
No cribs.
No cribs. No songs from the cribs or albums from the cribs anymore.
No Bloods and Cribs. There was very little gang warfare in Jerusalem, which was ironic because now lots.
I don't know if I would call it gang warfare.
I know you wouldn't, but that's only because you're fucking indoctrinated not to call it gang warfare. Anyway,
well, I mean, it's just that, one of the gangs has
funded by the US and the UK.
the might of high-tech weaponry, and other ones chucking kites at fucking people or whatever.
Please tell me you mean the bird of prey.
No, like
No,
one of
I know you mean the fucking flying kites, but the idea that we're taking birds of prey and just
just
throwing them
watching
at
them.
people.
But that was one of the justifications that.
Aye, they had kites with like fire bombs on them,
Yes, they were like, so we have to,
So we have to
snipe
use
them all to death.
so we have to murder them all when they're protesting peacefully.
Anyway, Aaron Banks. So,
You rob banks?
oh, fuck off, Paul.
Oh, Aaron Banks.
Aaron Banks.
Right, okay.
Aaron Banks. I run Banks.
Aaron Banks. Alright, cool. Alright.
All right. Is 6 million loan still not called in, is what I've got written down here. So that was ascertained to the fact that one of the biggest donations that Aaron Banks made to the Leave campaign was a £6 million loan, which as of now he still has not called back in. So
Who do you call that back in from?
from the Leave campaign, but I think that the problem is it was a loan, so it's not strictly a donation, so it's not subject to the same rules, but obviously at some point you have to get it back. He still doesn't have it back, and we're in April. We're leaving apparently.
So I see what you're saying. So if you give me £1 million as a donation, I declare that as a donation. If you give me then another £1 million as a loan, firstly I'm like, Jerry, where the fuck you getting this money from? But then after we get by that,
I know a guy in a bank knows.
But after you've gave me that money, if you give me it as a loan, then it's not a donation. I don't have to declare it as a donation because essentially it's a loan that I'm going to be paying you back.
I think so. Yeah, that's my understanding. So that's a bit sus in and of itself. That was one of the things that I kind of came across when I was looking at him. Another one, other things that I came across relate to his specific business dealings within the insurance companies that he is the de facto head of, CEO, chairman, whatever, on the board of directors of. He sold one called Brightside, which is what he claims was the major sort of source of his income. When the Financial Times did a piece on him, which sort of asked the question, he is supposed to be worth 100 to 250 million pounds. Where's all this money came from? Aaron Banks tweeted to them that day to say, well, I sold Brightside Insurance for 147 million pounds. There's 147 million right there. Peter Gagan, when he looked at that, discovered that actually the shares that he held in Brightside would only have entitled him to about £22 million. And there was also some extreme dodginess tied up in the sale of Brightside. So before selling Brightside, Aaron Banks had used, as the CEO and the Chief Insurance Officer of Brightside, he purchased 4 of his own companies at inflated prices. Those were eBike, eCar, eSystems and eDevelopment. Court documents alleged that Brightside was in breach of its banking covenants and insolvent on a net basis. This was when the company that had then bought Brightside over had taken legal action against the previous owners of Brightside to basically say that they'd been sold a dud. During that, the authorities in London concurred with the Gibraltar regulators' findings that Southern Rock had been trading without sufficient reserves. This is another one of his companies. And in 2013, Banks voluntarily recused himself from the FCA register, stepped down as director of Southern Rock in 2014. Both regulators had effectively barred him from holding a position of control within an insurance business. So he constantly talks about the fact that he runs an insurance business, but the reality is he's not permitted at the moment to run his own insurance company or hold any position of authority at one. Another one of his firms, Southern Rock, which we just discussed, he sold the rights for Southern Rock to his own firm, ICS, for 60 million in order to balance the books because Southern Rock was failing. So again, he's shifting money between one of his businesses to another. But if you look at ICS's accounts, they only have 1 million in assets on paper and they owe 60 million in future monthly instalments to Southern Rock. So he has created this 60 million within Southern Rock to balance its books. But ICS still owes that 60 million when you look at their bank account. So they haven't actually given it. It's just money that they're going to give them in the future. So it keeps ICS on an even keel and it keeps Southern Rock on an even keel in terms of balancing the books, but no money has actually went anywhere.
Also, just so you're aware, Aaron Banks is on the Paradise Papers and Panama Papers like listed, so his money is not there.
Yeah, is offshore, an offshore bank account.
So he's not paying any tax on any of these shifting abouts either.
And the money that all of a sudden appeared to go to Southern Rock was basically came from new shareholders at ICS. And the shareholders, ICS, other than banks, are not named anywhere. So the big question that I spoke to Peter and Adam prior to us starting to record, and they were saying the big question that...
how many of them finish with the name...
Ovich.
Oski. Yeah.
Well, Aaron Banks' wife is Russian, and a lot of his business associates are Russian.
He owns gold mines in Russia.
Well, alleged. Like, there's
But
definitely,
he
there's definitely
claims-
been off. Well, he claimed he
owns
was getting
gold
involved
mines.
in gold mines. Yeah, but the
I ain't saying he's a gold digger.
Bay ain't messing with no broke. Yeah, I did the radio version.
I'm glad. Because I'd have had to otherwise with the editing at the end.
I wouldn't have said that one. So there was.
You're not a UKIP candidate, I remember the Tory party.
He got a 77 million cash injection from an unknown source, basically, to prop up his insurance businesses, and nobody's really 100% sure where it came from. He appointed there's new shareholders. He only owns about 52% of ICS, but nobody knows who owns the rest of it.
Our morals are quite loose. If some cunt wants to drop us 70 million quid, I'll say lots of nice things about whatever party they're got. I've got more morals in it.
And they are all of his companies are either registered in like Gibraltar or the Isle of Man or other
Tax
offshore
havens.
tax havens. Yeah. So that's the kind of crack with Arab banks. What came out latterly, the weekend after we did the interview, was an article that, again, Carol Cadwalladr and Peter Jukes had from Byline had come up with, and it basically showed that Andy Wigmore, his close business associate, had basically passed confidential documents relating to the arrest of George Cottrell, who was arrested when he was with Arron Banks, Andy Wigmore, and Nigel Farage in America. He was arrested and questioned by the FBI, questioned by British Secret Services, and according to the material that Carol Cadwalladr and Peter Jukes have seen, Andy Wigmore was passing confidential documents relating to that arrest to the Russians, to Russian Secret Service personnel, Russian ambassadorial personnel.
Also, just there's another link between Banks and Farage when we talk about the money that's going back and forward to UKIP and stuff.
Yeah.
If you remember that Farage's background is in trading in metals. I mean, he was
He was an investment banker.
but specifically in metal, which is obviously relevant if you compare it, if you're talking about the fact that Arron Banks is now a gold mine guy. So, you know, the fact that again that Farage just came up as having a connection in that way, the same as he did. He's been there when the arrests and stuff have happened, and like you have mentioned before, the scenario is obviously that he comes up. He's very connected in the kind of story that follows Arron Banks. Anytime that one is there, the other's there. I mean, as you pointed out, Arron Banks seems to be a funding or a cash roll, or
they're inextricably linked. Like Farage and Banks. Banks has followed Farage around in all of his political dealings for at least the last sort of 6-7 years. You know, he funded UKIP. He donated to Leave.eu, but I think it looks as if their relationship goes back even further than that. They've both worked in investments. They've both been involved, as you say, in sort of mineral speculation. So yeah, I think that one's gonna play out. You need to avoid talking about them too much, as they're like an extremely litigious group of chaps. But yeah, there's gonna be more.
not so much
on
Nigel
that.
Farage. Not so much Nigel Farage. I've been saying shit about him for the last fucking year and a half, and he's not done anything about it.
But Wigmore and Banks, like, and I, as Peter and Adam kind of hinted at during the interview, like the three of them kind of come as a package, but he seems to be not in the spotlight on this stuff. But he's only a step away, and he's only a couple of links away, and it's only going to take the right piece of evidence to drag Farage quite heavily into all this, I think.
But the same thing came up when we spoke about Cambridge Analytica. The exact same scenario was there. Farage was directly involved with all of the key players. I mean, he's fucking photographed literally kicking about in their boats and stuff.
Yeah, but Banks and Wigmore were huge in the Cambridge Analytica aggregate IQ stuff. If you listen back to our episode on Cambridge Analytica, we have direct quotes from Andy Wigmore, because he was the communications director of Leave.eu. If you looked on the Aggregate IQ website, there was a quote from Andy Wigmore about how they had helped win Brexit.
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly they're all involved, but that's the thing. What all I mean is with Farage again, he just seems to manage to slimily fucking dodge all these bullets, but he definitely is affiliated with all these people that are finding their way in front of court.
Because he's just a lad, isn't he? He's just a lad that goes down the pub and drinks fags and smokes pints.
Drinks fags and smokes fucking Bombardier. His that looks like he's some fucking goes down Toad Hall. Fucking prick.
Yeah, he's a bit
I know that might get us sued there, but in case you are listening, Nigel, you are in fact a prick. So.
And you do look remarkably like Toad of Toad Hall.
Yeah.
And Admiral Akbar, as Steve has pointed out. So
it's a crap. The whole of Brexit.
Yeah, it fucking really is. Well, that is. It's an opportunity for a.
It's an opportunity. Doesn't work.
But like as it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to turn Britain into even more of a money launderer and a tax haven than it already is. And
tax haven is the thing that I believe that definitely that we're working towards, especially after the open democracy stuff and that, and like looking into it a bit more. The logic would be that with all the massive amount of international fucking companies that avoid paying tax here as is, taking away any legislation and jurisdiction from the EU means that they can just permit it more, and the only people that are going to suffer from that are the citizens of the UK.
Yeah, and also like look at we don't know. I mean, this is entirely what's the word I'm looking for? Speculative, or it's not even. It's
conjecture?
Imagine it's conjecture, right? And it's a wee thought experiment. Okay. So,
I'm just here to throw out the words that
Jesus,
you can't remember.
So say, for example, we're looking at the shareholders of ICS, and we know that nearly 50% of them are not sure who they are.
The insane cloud saucy.
And that money is coming from offshore bank accounts and such like. We don't know how it got into those offshore bank accounts. But we know that if they make money and then sell themselves at a profit, the shares that will be paid back to those individuals is quote-unquote clean money, which can be put through the banking system at leisure and is legitimate. So,
are you suggesting that the money might have came through, I don't know, say like the numerous Panama companies that Aaron Banks are involved with, who fund and allow for financing for lots of criminal activity? I'm
trying to explain the idea of money laundering through the UK system, and because the main reason is Michelle and me listened to the interview.
Launder money all the time. No, is that what you were going to say there? Because this isn't the platform to tell me, Jerry.
Listen to that interview the other day in the car when we were driving back from Ireland, and Michelle was like, "But how? I don't understand. How do you launder money? How are you laundering money by doing that?" And I was like, "Well, you know, because he talked about laundering money via property in the UK and how a lot of people, Arabs, Russians, whoever, launder money in the UK via purchase of property." And Michelle was like, "Yeah, but when we bought our house, we had to, show that you had a contract with a company and show pay slips for like the last 3 months or 6 months or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, but those are not difficult documents to launder, and they weren't subject to any kind of scrutiny, really, were they, Michelle?"
And the other thing is, obviously, you weren't buying the house outright.
No.
Whereas if you are a Russian drug kingpin, and so you've got a shitload of heroin money in your back pocket, and you show up and you buy a £1 million house for 800 grand because you know the boy who's selling it, and you buy that cash and then you sell that straight away, you get your 800 grand back plus an extra 200 grand for goodwill that a percentage of goes to the boy who sold you the house in the first place, who's then selling the house again. Yeah. And suddenly you have then made that sale, that money is legitimate, taxes paid on it, goes into your bank account.
Too. Yeah, but if you're really smart, then what you would do is you would buy property in an area of London where you know it's going to rise very quickly, and you would, instead of buying one house pure cash for $1 million and taking 1.2 million a wee while later, you would buy 10 or 20 houses with a 200 grand deposit and make more money off it, a lot of them, and clean it all.
And the other thing is, as well, is when the discussion was to do with the documents, that if I have 30 million quid in the bank already sitting there, and then I want to go and put 200 grand down on 10 houses, I don't need to show I've got a contract, because I can show that I've got the money in the bank to be able to pay for all of it.
Yeah, no, but the money laundering legislation in the UK states that these are things that you have to show. You have to show that money in your account. But like I know that when I bought the house that I live in, I was working abroad. I just had to show.
You worked her well, took all her money. I thought you were talking like a 1940s guy. I was
working
this
abroad.
See?
You know, and I got my mortgage with the bank that I banked with, so I just had to go, look, there's money in my bank. You know, had to show a contract, which was just like a PDF document, and had to show a couple of pay slips that were just PDF documents. And, you know, realistically, PDF documents are not difficult to adjust.
It's actually even further than that see if you want to.
And nobody really looked.
See if you're doing this for a living, you just fucking get yourself Sage Line 50 and you print off a couple of documents that are actually legitimate documents coming out of a legitimate programme, and they look like the legitimate, you know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to print a legitimate payslip, I could acquire, if not purchase for very cheap, the software that prints a legitimate payslip. Now, if they checked all the numbers and the PAYE and everything else and that goes along with that and all the other bits, then it may well not come back as...
But the banks don't do that.
But that's what I mean. But they're not going to. They're not going to do that.
Because they're happy to make money.
Yeah, because they make a shitload of profit out of this.
Off the interest and stuff. So anyway, right, we've kind of digressed a wee bit there. So the next thing we were going to talk about...
Let's get down and dirty on Brexit.
Brexit.
Which is actually directly connected to Armed Banks, if you think about it.
Yeah, massively is.
Because they funded it.
So we've got a fair bit to talk about within Brexit. So where do you want to start?
Don't know anymore, Jerry.
Brexit means Brexit.
It does, and actually it doesn't mean anything.
And memes means memes, and
Again,
beans
though,
means Heinz.
No, it doesn't. They're all different things.
All right, okay.
Memes does mean memes, right? Brexit means Brexit, and it means nothing else.
What about Meeseeks?
Meeseeks means Meeseeks will do that task for you.
Anyway, right, yeah. So
I think first and foremost we have to talk about the fact that right now, as things stand, to do with Brexit, because of decisions that have been made, the British government have the power to just make fucking sweeping decisions and not have anybody involved in the decision. There's now essentially...
Without Parliament being
without
involved.
well, that's what I mean by it, everyone. Essentially, right now, as it stands, the Tory government can say, we are going to allow 30% worth of the tax that is paid on duty in the UK to go directly to Germany to appease them, and no one can complain. The chances of them saying that are slim.
Well, but it's essentially, it's not even the government either, is it? It's a specific section of the cabinet. It's a specific committee.
The front benchers of the Tory party. There's the people who are involved. May,
Gove,
Boris,
Hammond, Davis.
Fuck, man. When you trust him to get out of bed in the morning.
I wouldn't trust any of them.
No, I mean, I would trust Boris to get out of bed in the morning. That's not because he's fucking drowning kittens.
He always looks as if he's just got out of bed.
And he's just been drowning kittens.
He's a cunt. Anyway, so yeah, I understood that Brexit was about taking back sovereignty, but we've actually just voted in the past week and a half on several occasions to take sovereignty away from Parliament. Although Parliament voted for it, so did we make a sovereign vote to do that? It's all a bit confusing. I mean, it was so tight today as well. I think it was about 15 votes in it, or even less than that, perhaps. It was like 303 to 315 or something.
But the idea that... But that's the fucking majority that the Tories actually sit with anyway. Like you're saying, it's really tight. But if you take the Tories plus the DUP and they have all their numbers and they all vote the same way, there's still only about fucking 30 odd seats in it. Do you know what I mean?
But in order to get them to agree to vote the same way, like she had to promise opposing wings of the Tory party completely different things.
I hope to fuck Opposing Wings as a cover band for Paul McCartney tracks.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. Yeah. What's your favourite Wings song?
Jet.
Really? Yeah. It's got to be Band on, eh?
No, it's Jet. That's why I answered it. That's why I said that.
No, I mean, that's fine that that's your fabulate, but you're wrong. It's Band on the Run.
I mean, to be
No,
honest,
it's the answer on the card is Band on the Run, Paul. You do not win the £1 million, I'm sorry.
Mate, imagine that was like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What's the best Wings track?
Wings, the band the Beatles could have been.
Said no cunt.
Said Alan Partridge. Yeah. So, okay, so we've got that situation, that hideous situation whereby even if there's no deal, Parliament have voted today not to have a meaningful vote on that. We have a situation whereby there's been a power grab from all of the kind of regional assemblies and the devolved parliaments of the various constituent countries of the UK.
So to put that into perspective, right now in the agreements, settlements and arguments that's going on between the EU and the UK,
Or not, as the case may be.
But say the hypothetical arguments that are meant to be going on, the agreements, the decisions.
I was in the agreements I was focusing on there.
Say Germany, say the EU. I'm just saying Germany. What I mean is the EU. But let's say Merkel says we want to have the Northern Irish and the Scottish fishing grounds available to us for our own quotas that we will set. And in exchange, we won't allow the. We will say that you can veto the free movement of people across the UK, and Scotland and Northern Ireland could look at that and they could be like, "Fuck that, yo," or probably they won't say it like that, but that would be their feeling. They would have no say, no vote, or no even argument in Parliament over that because those powers have now been stripped. Essentially, they can't even defend. Now, that's a very specific scenario, but it's just one that what I mean is it technically doesn't in any way, shape or form in the grand scheme of things affect England or more importantly London. But the ability for them to even justify the fact that they don't believe that's fair. Now, I am not saying that London are entirely selfish bag of dicks, right? But in the event that was offered to them, where they were just like, we'll take all the fishing grounds north of Northern Ireland and Scotland, you don't have to have free movement of people, I imagine London would jump on that without even fucking thinking about it.
It's not even that though. I mean, it's the interests of a very select couple or handful or fucking 20, 30 people who are going to be making these decisions and influenced by like think tanks and charities, you know, who are advising on Brexit policy at the moment, who are hard right, hard Brexit, chucking a lot of money at it. There's evidence that a lot of that money's came from fucking pretty nefarious sources and they're getting charitable status and they have fucking kind of unacceptable lobbying power and access to the government at the minute. But the real problem with the sort of withdrawal bill and the lack of debate and the issues which led to, for example, the SNP walking out of Parliament last week, is that it's to do with powers which are coming back to the UK from the EU.
Austin?
Yeah, but he's the main one. Also, Max Power, I believe, the magazine is also coming back to us.
And after the... Wait till you see where this is going. Right? After the financial troubles with the tax man for Rangers Football Club, the Power Rangers are coming back to replace them at Ibrox.
Fucking hell, Paul. What? But not the Green Ranger.
No. Mostly the blue and weirdly orange, the lesser known Orange Ranger.
That's Arlene Foster. That's what she dressed up as to go to Cowdenbeath.
She can fuck off. I absolutely hate her. I don't even care if it's like, I know that we do this whole, you know, generally speaking, we try and stay non-partisan and that, and I know that we kind of lean a bit left and it shines through some. I don't give a shit about that. She's a horrible cunt of a human being. And see, in the off chance you live in Northern Ireland or in any way, shape or form, no Arlene, let her hear this. Paul McCann says you're a cunt.
Arlene Foster putting a cow in Cowdenbeath. She marched at an Orange March in Cowdenbeath recently.
You know how she's meant to be in charge of a country that's got a lot of issues, like, I don't know, like border issues and shit, for example.
Oh, I mean, she's nominally in charge of the DUP, who are nominally in charge of Stormont, but nobody nobody has actually turned up in Stormont for about 550 days now. They're still picking up a wage, so.
That's because she's going about doing a tour of the shite fucking Orange Box something in the UK.
Well, it's because none of them can agree on fucking anything. It's fucking pathetic, really, to be honest with you. It's a fucking sad state of affairs.
You say none of them can agree? Pretty much everyone that actually fucking runs the country or has any say in what's happening in the country are all from the same fucking party. Like, yeah, I know they get a pile of like fucking Sinn Féin's or whatever.
It's pretty even split at the minute.
But they essentially all...
But there's nobody's got enough to form a government. So
they historically don't do anything as far as the running of the country goes.
No, they historically don't do anything in Westminster. They don't take their seats at Westminster, but they have been involved heavily in Stormont. But at the minute, they just can't fucking make any kind of agreement with each other. They can't come to a coalition deal.
Do you think that's something to do with the stepping down of Gerry Adams? Or do you think he's seen this happening and was just like, fuck this, I'm out of here?
I think it's got more to do with Mark McGuinness dying and fucking Ian Paisley dying.
There's very little you can do about those two things. So, Gerry Adams stepping down could have been prevented.
No, but I mean, there was two people who... Mark McGuinness killed people. Ian Paisley was extremely staunch.
Invented
and better.
That pattern that people have on ties. The Ian Paisley pattern.
That have on jackets. But they were able to sit down and find common ground and compromise and sort of try to invest in taking that country forward.
I hear what you're saying. Gerry Adams has to have sex with Arlene.
Well, Gerry Adams is no longer involved in anything.
That's because he had to have sex with Arlene.
Because he might be a pedo, apparently.
Is that the reason he stepped down?
No. Allegedly, libel, drink, fuck, don't shoot me. No, I mean, that was the there've been rumours.
I had heard there had been rumours, but I was just going to play stupid to that, and it was you that said it all, because of all the people, I'm not going to lie, Gerry, in the event they show up and fucking blow up your car, I will get great ratings.
Can you beep that bit out? So can you just the word pedo?
Just what Gerry Adams is a beep. He said bastard.
He probably wouldn't shoot me for that.
He might. He probably wouldn't shoot you for that.
What, the first one?
You're not being say
I'm starting to question whether this is a good idea at all. I'm not that difficult to track down. Anyway.
You actually probably spend more time in the fucking country than he does.
The point I was going to make was that the issue with the non-debate, the filibustering of the 15 minutes that they were given to debate the withdrawal bill, in terms of the devolved parliaments, in terms of the legislation and the proposals that were put forward from the Scottish Parliament, they weren't allowed to put any amendments to the bill or anything like that either. And the problem with that is that when we do leave the EU, there are a number of rather important powers which, as per the Scotland Act, should be passed directly to Holyrood and the Scottish Parliament. And this withdrawal bill does not allow for that. It makes sure that they are kept at Westminster and they are over some quite important areas of legislation and policy, and the devolved parliaments and assemblies are not happy about it.
Actually, there's a lot of areas that it's going to impact on where Scotland, for example, is excelling over England at the present moment.
Our economic growth rate is higher than the rest of the UK.
That was actually the article got put out by the BBC as well, just for the inevitable scenario where people tell us that we're wrong and it didn't happen and it's fucking lies. It did come from the mouthpiece of the Tory government.
It seems unlikely they would make that up. So you're in a situation right now where it seems like a massive own goal, like the sort of disrespect that has been shown to the constituent parts of the UK and their parliaments in the last week and a half has left a very bitter taste. It's changed the political atmosphere, certainly up here, to the extent that you have people who have been pretty hardline in favour of the union have changed their mind. The SNP picked up around 8,000 new members in the space of 3 or 4 days off the back of the SNP walking out of Parliament. And there was a bit of some insults thrown at them, and they got a bit of flack. It was claimed in some quarters that it was a political stunt. I would fucking suggest that pretty much all of politics is a big fucking stunt, and what those people are pissed off about is that SNP did a better stunt than the rest of them.
Yeah, the other thing that I would imagine, you can kind of take note on this. So this is like the 20th of the 6th or something or thereabouts that we're recording this. I would imagine that in the next few months we're probably going to see the Speaker, what's his name? Mad Tory.
Burkow. John Burkow.
Steps down.
Aye, because he fucked up.
Yeah, and I imagine that the Tories are going to use this to leverage it. So he is a Tory, right? But he's also, certainly in my opinion, a relatively fair speaker, as in he isn't very biased or Tory. Do you know what I mean? He's not. He certainly doesn't toe his old party line or anything. He does a good job as a speaker, like as the Speaker
of the House, chairing it.
Yeah, and he does do a good job. I don't think that particularly lends itself to, for example, see when he told Boris off last month or thereabouts. See when Boris had a.
Oh, I thought you were on about Borisov, the Russian.
When he told Borisov to stop giving us money. Stop it, Borisov. I can't get out of my house. There's too many 20s. No, see when Boris had a go at, I actually have to pull this up, but Boris had a snipe at one of the female speakers.
Right.
Because he's a cunt, essentially. But yeah, essentially there was a knock-on effect where he got told off and got made to apologise and made to respect the fact that there was a speaker in question. He actually stood up and tried to walk away or something similar like that in the middle of a... He was just being Boris. He was being a fucking greedy asshole. But yeah, that's not towing the Tory line. Now, I know his job is to not toe the Tory line, and for the fact that he's a staunch Tory, the fact that he doesn't speaks volumes for him. I don't think he's a nice person, don't get me wrong.
Well, I was going to say he's suffered quite heavy allegations of bullying his staff and stuff like that. I think there's actually a couple of legal disputes.
Yeah. I mean, indeed, I don't think he's a nice...
In terms of just like, what do you call it, HR kind of stuff against him.
I mean, and the thing is, he doesn't come across as if he's a nice person at all, but I can't imagine the specific role that he's playing is a very easy one, because most of the people you're dealing with there are asshole children all the time. I
mean, it's a fucking joke to watch at times. Like even during the sort of SNP walk-up, when Ian Blackford was standing up and he was being shit, rah, 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 rah. I mean, it is fucking pathetic. It's embarrassing.
They should let me and you run it for the day. He's like, sit down, shut the fuck up.
Listen, cunt. You're it.
Ear horn. Alright. Fucking assholes.
I'm fucking Vuvuzela.
That's my Vuvuzela impression. I've done it with my own horn.
Oh.
But yeah, he's just I'm quite proud of it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to make it sound amazing and fucking post it.
You're just going to cut in an actual Vuvuzela.
Just an extra track in the whole. Just like, I've fucking done that. But aye, so I imagine we're going to see that he steps down over the next month or two.
I don't know what.
Because I imagine he's going to be scapegoated for everything just because he's not towing the party line and he doesn't do them any favours.
I don't know. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I think it'll move on to something else. I think unless a major scandal comes out in regards to some of the allegations against him, like from his staff members and stuff, I think he'll keep his job.
Imagine if there was like a Prime Minister who we know totally covered up a whole shitload of major scandals before she became the Prime Minister and knew hundreds of young people.
And still has as a Prime Minister. Like Theresa May.
Aye, like exactly like that. So I'm just saying, like, we're talking, like, I don't see it as an unlikely sequence of events. But anyway, that's just my prediction that I believe he's going to step down, because I believe he didn't do a couple of things that were right, and then following from that, he doesn't toe the party line.
So what else do we have to talk about on Brexit?
The big red bus!
Oh, the Brexit dividend.
350 million quid that's miraculously going to come to us every week, even though it's not.
Well, okay, so this was quite interesting at the weekend though, because on Sunday, the main sort of headline in a lot of the papers was the government pushing the idea that they are going to give an extra 20 billion, roughly, a year for the NHS
They didn't say
budget.
that they were going to give it from Virgin Healthcare.
But there was going to be an extra wad of money in the budget for the NHS, and
That would be 380 million a week, just roughly.
and they were basically suggesting that this was the Brexit dividend, quote unquote, which had been promised previously, the money that we weren't going to be spending on the EU. And Andrew Neil, head of, the host of the flagship, one of the flagship political shows, Daily Politics, Sunday Politics on BBC. He's also the chairman of The Spectator, and on Sunday he tweeted a Spectator article about this, basically sort of saying, "Oh look, the promise on the Boris bus turns out to be true after all," or words to that effect. And following on through that, it didn't take long for it took literally a couple of hours for that whole myth to fall apart and be completely busted by various political shows, by like a expert from the Institute for Fiscal Studies showed quite quickly that the numbers did not add up for that. And even the government's own numbers show that we are going to be worse off budget-wise after we leave the EU.
What are you thinking?
And the government had to come out and admit that, we're actually just going to have to raise taxes to put this extra money in the NHS.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the scenario was anyway that 350 million was 350 million which went in, but then by the time that the money comes back out and then we get a couple of paybacks and kickbacks, then we get some money here, and then there's money we don't have to pay for this and that, and then there's a scenario where certain money gets exchanged back and forward. It ended up being like 125 million or something like that as the actual figure rather than 350 million. That's what it was anyway.
That wasn't on the side of a bus though, Paul.
It was very difficult to put all of those words on the side of a bus. But yeah, I believe that was like, so even though the base figure is the the EU are like, you have to give us 350 million. By the time that money goes back and forth and gets switched around and, we get all the paybacks and kickbacks and funding and all the other stuff, it ended up being like 125 million that we're actually paying a week rather than 350 million. I know someone will be listening and they'll be like, that figure's not exactly right. I know that. I'm just saying it was in the region of, and on top of that, I know people are going to be saying 125 million is a lot of money. It's not. We're a fucking country, not a person. It's an incredibly tiny amount of money in the grand scheme of the amount of debt that the Tories have racked up in the last 3 years.
Yes, exactly.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
but Andrew Neil, who's supposed to be bipartisan, again showed his bias by tweeting this out and basically towing or buying or promoting the Tory party line that, well, look, this is the benefit we're going to get of Brexit, the very real benefit, and we're showing you this benefit. There's going to be 20 billion extra for the NHS, and it's bollocks. They're going to raise it by taxing, which is exactly what Jeremy Corbyn promised to do.
Well, it's exactly what it said in the manifesto.
Yeah.
In his manifesto, it said, I'm going to tax the living shit out of you to pay more money for things that you need. And people were just like, can't believe he's going to raise taxes. Instead, Theresa May is just going to clap her fucking hands and money's going to miraculously fall from the sky. Some money, Theresa
Labour were getting it from the magic money tree.
Even though Labour were getting it from the magic tax tree.
Yeah, and they were going to tax higher earners.
And the Tories are getting it from nowhere apart from the tax tree.
They're going to tax people. Probably not higher earners because that's not their bag.
And Philip May hates paying tax. Fact.
So
Libel.
Drink. This podcast was brought to you by wine.
Brought to you by Jerry. Fucking name a red wine or let's get them as a sponsor.
Any Bucky.
Not that one.
Oh come on, it would be pretty fucking cool to be sponsored by Buckfast.
Imagine
we should get in touch with Buckfast.
Do you want to just say to them like, here, Abbey lads, you want to send us up some bottles of tonic?
We're holy as fuck.
We will get people to back because like the thing is, I reckon there is a percentage of people who listen to us who drink Buckfast, and that percentage is high.
Aye, as well as being drunk.
It's high right now listening to us, just like, I wish I had Buckfast.
So, the other Brexit thing.
I'm going to contact Buckfast Abbey tomorrow.
You know how we recorded this bit and then realised it wasn't recording? And we got onto a whole bit about kind of no-go zones and race and gangs and violence and whatever.
That was all great chat.
How did we get onto that?
Because what I was saying was this. So, one of the things that, to give you an idea of...
It was about 10, basically, just to give the listeners a little insight behind the curtain. It was about 10 minutes of chat and we realised I hadn't recorded it.
So, James O'Brien done a telephone interview. When the guy phoned in, he was a full-time UKIP candidate. That man was essentially of black and Chinese origin, or at least he claimed to be black and...
Blackanese.
It was actually black and Asian, that was my fault there, but it was black and Asian origins. But he essentially was talking about how there are lots of immigrants and crimes in the... lots of immigrants committing crimes in the inner cities or areas of London, but not the inner city area of London that he lives in, where it's 95% or 97% white people, and as such there is no racial inequality, but there's lots and lots of people coming from, and he took some random place, like he chose like Uganda or Somalia or somewhere equally as just, I'm going to choose a place that most people are black in Africa, and they have came from there and they are now creating gang violence, and it's a complete like horrible area to be in. James O'Brien pointed out that he was in the fucking area and it's not the case, and then the man named somewhere else in London shows my complete... I don't give a fuck about London.
Disregard for the
but the different regions
geography of London.
But yes, but he said somewhere else, and when he said it, James O'Brien pointed out that's where like the Archbishop of Canterbury lives, and the chances that he's kicking about where there's like random black gang violence from Africa seems unlikely. So from that point, when we were talking about that, you were then saying that it's really difficult to use that because inner city violence is a thing that's existed for the last essentially 30, 50 years anyway, certainly.
Yeah, gang violence in the major cities of the UK, so Glasgow, London, Manchester, Birmingham. Yeah, I mean, well, fucking... So there's a whole TV show...
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, which is very successful, about gang violence in Birmingham.
Jennifer is a fan of Peaky Blinders. She's going to tell me I should watch it.
You'll notice that them boys are all white, although they were also fucking Irish immigrants, like, you know.
They were travellers, I believe.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that the gang violence is a constant for the last 300 years in inner cities in the UK, and
gang violence is a symptom of poverty in the inner city.
Yeah, the common denominator is not the race of these people, but that's the line that's been spun at us. That is a narrative which is being driven at us by many people in the right wing media, that this is a symptom of the race of the people who are in these areas and who are in these gangs and who are committing this crime, whereas actually it's a socio-economic issue.
Imagine, right? So just imagine, how hilarious would it be? I say hilarious, but imagine Charles Dickens, right, writing Oliver Twist in a modern society. So instead of it being, you know, Fagin and a bunch of cheeky boys that are out to steal money, it's just like, it's blacks and they're going to kill you. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that's fundamentally the exact same thing. I mean, essentially, when you're talking like stuff like what Charles Dickens was writing about, so stuff like the child gangs getting organised by, like, right now I can read articles about how there is relatively young teenage to certainly children, like Romani gypsies being made by their parents to sell their bodies for sex in Glasgow. People make this claim. It's not true, but people make this claim. Now, the scenario that Charles Dickens was fucking talking around there was the exact same fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't talk about it, but we know right now that both in vast areas of London and certainly in the merchant city in Glasgow and stuff like that, there was a big problem at the turn of the century with this, like the turn of the century is in the 18th to 1900s, not 1900 to 2000, we would have heard about it. But things like child prostitution, or certainly very, very, very borderline young people prostitution, where they were being made to settle to be. But
They were also being made to work up chimneys and work in mills and stuff at the time as well. You know what I mean?
And they were also working in gangs and stuff like that, and they were being exploited because they were, and this is the words I'm trying to get to. They were being exploited because they were incredibly poor, and the ones that pulled themselves out of that done so through crime and organised crime, and they ended up doing that. And it's just, they were the poor, they were the disenfranchised of the area.
But the point I'm making is that this is not a new thing at all.
Well, that's exactly what I mean as well. That this is just so happens at the turn of the century, everyone in the UK was like essentially white and British.
Yeah.
So the criminals were white and British. The child prostitutes were white and British. The child criminals were white and British. The exploited children were white and British.
All the criminals were white, and
but
certainly white.
But now what you've got is a scenario where for the most part, even if you don't want to believe it, even if the Daily Mail is telling you otherwise, most white British people live slightly above the area of absolute poverty, and most of the people who live in absolute poverty are refugees and immigrants and foreigners and people who are coming in that way.
However, if you look at the gangs in Glasgow, the majority of them are still white. Like Easterhouse, but
that's only because Scotland has a very, very small population of immigrants proportionally.
But the point I'm making is that the issues are still the same, the crime is still the same, the organised gangs are still the same, the types of crime, the knife crime, etc. is still the same. But nobody's talking about that to the same level because it doesn't have the racial element, and it's not as easy to pinpoint it on, well, it's because they're black and it's because they're Somalis or Ethiopians or whatever else.
Asian is one that happens. So it's up here, it's like you can't go, so people will tell you in the UK there is places you can't go to because of race. But I would say to them,
you can't go because it's poor.
Yeah, I will take you, not in my car because I like my car, but I will take you to the poorest parts of Easterhouse or Govan in Glasgow, and the guy who is going to take the things off you and rob you and kick the shit out of you will be white. Will probably have his name tattooed in his hand.
But it's no different. They're suffering for the same inequalities, the same educational, monetary, and lifestyle inequalities that the people in London, the people in Birmingham who are not white are experiencing, and who have these same areas, these same types of crime. This same scenario has been playing out for over 300 years in the UK. The constant is not the race, the constant is the situation that these people are in.
Well, see, in the 70s and 80s, one of the worst things that was happening in the Glasgow area, so I can use the Glasgow area as an example, was razor gangs.
Yeah.
Right? Razor gangs were a big issue. Do you know how they fucking dealt with the razor gangs?
They formed Razor Light, and they turned their aggression into a musical.
When you kept on talking about Brightside earlier on, I was going to ask if he was Mr. Brightside for the entire.
Arabac's Mr. Brightside.
I mean, so I'm glad we've almost went full circle, even though, and that's right, isn't it? That's Razor Light that done that song, isn't it? Arctic Monkeys.
No, that was the Killers.
Aye, I mean, they're fucking the same.
The Razor gangs were killers too. Hey, yeah, it works.
And also they were the View. No, that doesn't work. That was just another band that was out at the same time. No, but they stopped the razor gangs by saying if you get caught with a razor, you're going to jail for a minimum sentence. And the thing is,
that's when they invented Gillette, isn't it?
Because it was the best a man could get.
And it had the little bars on that. It was Wilkinson's sword.
It was. We'll go with that. Anyway, my point being that it had nothing to do with where they were living in Glasgow. It had nothing to do with the race. It had nothing to do. It had to do with the fact that they were fucking hooligans. They were criminals. They were just razor gangs. They stabbed each other. And the only way they could stop it.
No, it did have to do with where they were living. Like they didn't come from fucking Mulgai.
No.
Or Bearsden, did they?
But what I mean is like
they were for the Gorbals.
Aye, no, it came from they were living in the shitty bits of Glasgow. But they were just living in the shitty bits of Glasgow. The fact that it was a shitty bit of Glasgow that had lots of Irish immigrants, or the fact that it was a shitty bit of Glasgow that had all the boys who were working down the fucking shipyards, or the fact that it was a shitty bit of Glasgow that had all the coal miners, or the fact that it was a shitty bit of Glasgow that did have a whole pile of Pakistani boys who were coming over because that was at the time where lots of people were coming over. None of that mattered. It purely mattered that they were just from shitty poor bits, so they joined gangs because it gave them money. a sense of family, a reason to get up every morning and stab a cunt. You know what I mean? But that's what they done in Glasgow, and the only way they could stop that from happening in Glasgow was not getting rid of black folk or white folk or fucking Irish folk or anything. It was
I mean, there was a lot of hatred towards Irish in Glasgow, to be fair.
I know, but that's not what caused that. There was just also lots of hatred towards Irish. Just like there was a lot of hatred towards Catholics for a long time in Scotland.
But same thing. Like the two of those things are intertwined.
But yeah, but the only way you could deal with it was not...
It's exactly the same as the hatred of Islam at the minute.
But yeah, but it wasn't... But the way that they fixed that gang problem was not highlighting that it was... They tried all of this. They tried to make it out that it was the Irish, or they tried to make it out that it was these people or that people. The way that they done it eventually was they just had a blanket scenario where it was, if you're involved in this type of gang violence, you're going to jail for 3 years. If you're caught carrying something like a blade, then you're going to jail for 3 years. And you're all just fucking going to jail for 3 years. And it doesn't matter if you're white or black or Irish or anything, you're just going to jail for 3 years. And eventually people stopped. That stopped a lot of the violence because people were then just being arrested regardless of their race, colour or creed. It's only after they got by that it changed. In Glasgow for fucking the best part of 20 years it was like that because people were looking for people to blame for all the problems. But once they got treated that they were just all fucking criminals, all in the same vein, then suddenly it all stopped.
There's an inherent problem with that as a solution now, though. Do you see what it is?
Brexit?
No. Like, if you want to implement the same sort of policy today, where it doesn't matter where you're from or who you are, we're going to treat everybody the same, and if you're found with a knife, you're just going to go to jail for X amount of time. What is the issue which prevents all people from being treated the same in modern times in an inner city?
Police are racist and the jails are too busy?
Well, people are wearing their difference quite visibly on their, in terms of their appearance.
A white Irish guy and a white Scottish guy, you can't tell the difference if they're walking down the street.
Yes, but people, it's shown statistically that black people will be stopped and searched and arrested by the police far more often than a white guy. So even if a white guy is carrying a knife, he's much less likely to be stopped and searched than a black guy in London.
But the problem there is the fucking police then.
Well, I mean, yes.
No, even, I mean, yes. The problem there is the police. Like, that's racial profiling. We've already seen the absolute pinnacle of racial profiling and how that operates in America. Random boys get shot in the street for wearing a hoodie and shit.
Yeah, totally.
Or, even in the UK, random Brazilians who, granted, ran away from the police and jumped over barriers. He didn't do himself any favours. But,
there's a question over that narrative as well, though, now.
I know there is, but if we can only go by the standard police narrative, if in the event, the sequence of events played out, that they say it played out, then still though...
I'm pretty sure it came out in an inquiry that they shot him while he was lying face down on the platform. They shot him like fucking 5 times in the back of the head.
Was it 7 times?
Alright, sorry. I missed those other 2.
It was those other 2 that killed him.
First 5 were fine. Just bounced off his metal plate. Anyway.
That's fucking dark. That's not nice.
No. But didn't he say obrigado?
Oh, but do you know what we should do? Are we mostly finished with Brexit? Because if we are, do you know what's our right?
No.
No, we are not, judging by that shaky face. Well, what have we missed?
Shaky face, man. We have missed the major stumbling block still.
John Major?
No.
The stumbling block?
I wish he...
That's what they call him.
The grey man, I think is what they called him.
No, they call him the stumbling block.
So the major stumbling block in the Brexit negotiations, which is still... It's still what is going to derail the Brexit negotiations, and is still what is going to cause them to come to a standstill, and is still inescapable and unsolved and a major problem. But nobody in the British press ever seems to talk about with any real understanding or detail.
Are we talking about the border?
We are. We're talking about the hard or soft or the border in Ireland. And there was a brilliant piece over the weekend, which we'll stick the link up to, by RTE, by a guy called Tony Connolly, who is their Europe editor. And he was sort of talking about the 10 days of, stuff in Westminster with Brexit and everything else, but how all of this was missing the really important issue of what is going to happen with the border in Ireland, and how the British government had essentially made a promise to the EU a number of months ago, back in December, I believe, to agree to the idea that Ireland would be subject to the same rules, the entire island of Ireland, which is part of the Good Friday Agreement. So, in terms of the movement of goods, etc., Ireland and Northern Ireland would have no separation and would be the same. And this was agreed to by our government in principle in a letter to the EU. And afterwards, in the Prime Minister's Chatham House speech, I believe it was, and statements made to the UK press, that was kind of backtracked upon, as it's obviously complete anathema to the DUP, the idea that
Excellent word.
Ireland and Northern Ireland would be treated as one entity and treated, in essence, Northern Ireland would be treated differently to the UK. The idea of a sea border does not work for the DUP, and Theresa May will lose her backing from the DUP if they go down that route.
So we're clear, this is why I think that... So this is going a bit off topic, but we'll get back to what we're talking about for 2 seconds. So, we've discussed where we think there may or may not be a vote moving forward.
Election.
An election.
Like as in before the end of the year.
Or before Brexit.
Yep.
I believe
not that much of a difference in time between the two things.
3 months. But I believe that the children of the future... I couldn't help myself. No, right. But I believe that the danger that Theresa May's got is she knows that for anything to happen in Ireland, realistically, legally, or where we're expecting anything, or where anyone with any logic is expecting to happen in Ireland, she's going to lose the defence of the DUP. Or the support of the DUP. So at that point, she has no choice but to try and run. So it depends if you believe one of two runs. If you believe that the reason they would have a general election is because they want to try and bolster their power in Westminster, then the reason they would do that prior to Brexit or prior to any Brexit decisions being made is because they have to they have to make sure they have enough seats, they have enough support, because they're going to lose the DUP's support, and they know that. The other vein is that they have no intention of winning it, and they would like Labour to be in charge for Brexit and the fallout of Brexit, to make them look like a fucking shambles and just be the opposition party for 4 years, absolutely destroy them, and then regain power tenfold at the other side of it, because...
And then spend the next 20 years blaming the shambles of Brexit on Labour.
Now, depending on what avenue you want to take there is entirely up to your political opinion of what you think they're doing. But I can see a justifiable argument to say that pushing for an election, like from a Tory point of view, so let's say something fucking horrible has happened in my life and I'm now sitting on the Tory front bench, right? And it's not because
we're not doing this podcast anymore in this parallel universe, by the way.
I'm not,
or you're not coming to my house anymore.
But if in the event that's happened, a logical reason for me to push for an election is because I know that by December or January this year, I have lost DUP support. Because I can't do anything to give the DUP what they want in Ireland and still retain anything that I want to have.
But now that we're in a position where it's purely down to government to negotiate Brexit, do they need... I suppose they need them to be a functional government for the next 4 years.
That's what I mean. So they need them long term. They don't need them for Brexit. But that's the beauty of it right now. What they can do is they can say, this is what you're going to get with Ireland. So they can say to Ireland and the EU, but they can say to Ireland, more importantly, they can say, you're going to get a soft border, you're going to everything you want to do with trade, everything's going to be fine there, we're going to have a sea border. And Northern Ireland say, we don't want that. And the UK government say, I don't give a fuck. We've decided we don't have to justify it to you because we voted and that's what the scenario is and we've decided that's going to be the case. In the event that happens, the only opportunity the Tories have got to still be in power for the next 2 and a bit years or whatever it is that they'll still have is to have some form of an election and
to try and win a
majority. And if they know they're losing the DUP, that's a good enough reason to push a snap election because they're losing the DUP anyway. Because they're not like...
Yeah, so they're losing a majority in Parliament anyway.
Definitely. So this is a lose... Like, looking at it that way, this is a lose-lose situation for them.
Which I kind of see where you're coming from, but then my argument would be that's something that you would do after the Brexit negotiations have been finalised and you no longer need the DUP for that.
But now, there's 2 things. What that has to do is that has to
like
presume...
you're surely better with the stability of the current government you have up until the 1st of April or whatever. When the deal's done or not, as the case may be, you want to keep the rest of the country fairly stable because everything else is going to be a shit show, right? And at that point, maybe once you've announced that the DUP aren't getting what they want, then maybe that's the time to do it.
Absolutely, but I would imagine right now that as much as I want to believe that they're an absolute fucking pathetic shambles of a government and couldn't fucking govern their way out of a fucking wet paper bag because they're a useless shower of shit, they have sat down in a room somewhere and looked at what is the best actual viable possible outcome of Brexit and what is the worst viable outcome of Brexit that they're willing to accept, like the lowest of low that they're willing to go to, and whether or not they ever show that to the British public and whether or not that ever comes up in conversation in any news outlet or in any actual televised discussion, they must by now, like, they are all fucking Oxford and Harvard students, they do all hold degrees, they are all from law and
doesn't
business.
mean that they're intelligent.
No, it doesn't, but they still...
Some of them are.
Some of them are, though. So even if they're not all intelligent, so enough of them are that there has to be a scenario where they know what the best and worst outcome is, that they're willing to accept at least, in actual terms, not the one that they're pretending they're telling the public and they're using to rile up racists or whatever, but the actual best and worst.
But this is the real sticking point of the border, and when you, like, this is the single best explanation that I've seen of it in terms of the sort of legislative outcomes for either scenario and why they're unworkable for both parties. A lot of these ideas that have been floated around by prominent politicians in terms of how to deal with the border issue in Ireland. What we sort of agreed to in principle in December is a kind of customs union within Ireland. So Northern Ireland is essentially within the EU, but only for goods, not for services. The problem is that goods are in a lot of ways intrinsically linked with services. So, you know, for example, cars are linked with financing, which is a service.
These are things that I know a lot about, especially between Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Right. So how does that work in terms of Northern Ireland being part of the EU for goods, not part of the EU for services, and the UK not being part of the EU for either of them? So what they've talked about is, in the event of no deal, we've guaranteed the backstop, and the backstop is that Northern Ireland retains its current status. There has been things said from British politicians which seem to interpret that as we can use that backstop for the entire country for an indeterminate length of time until negotiations are finished to keep to have the whole UK within that setup, but that won't work for the EU because it starts to separate what is known as the four freedoms in the EU, which is goods, persons, capital, and services. And those four come as a package. And we've talked about this before in terms of free movement of people.
Breakdancing, spray painting, MCing, DJing. No, that's hip hop. That's hip hop, not the EU. Always mix those two up. So
the UK cannot still have free movement of goods with the EU without having free movement of people. That won't work. So that backstop has to finish at the sea border between Ireland and the rest of the UK. But the DUP won't allow that. The Unionists of Northern Ireland will not be happy with that. But Ireland will not tolerate a hard border, and Ireland have the power of veto on any deal in the EU.
So, when we went into this, way back in like episode 3 or whatever, when we recorded this, we discussed the fact that like that week or thereabouts, the Irish Prime Minister stated under no uncertain circumstances, like, if you fuck up anything to do with the Good Friday Agreement, we are going to veto everything that you want to do in the EU. Everything. He told us that. We knew it was reported. We knew this. Right? So if anyone is shocked that that's the outcome moving forward, then they're a fucking moron because we knew this. Right?
The worst thing about it that came out in this particular article is that it turns out that British officials have been briefing against Ireland with the European countries. So on the face of it, they have said to Ireland, don't worry, we're not going to renege on the Good Friday Agreement, we're going to keep that in place. But behind the scenes, they have been speaking to ambassadors for European countries and saying, but fuck Ireland, we don't need to worry about that shit. Like, you know, you don't need to support Ireland, like, support us. But they've all went and told Ireland.
And the problem with that is, Ireland's like the 5th or 6th most richest country in the world per capita or something equally as ridiculous as that. Certainly in Europe.
Yeah, but like very little of that's actually in the hands of Irish people.
I know, but that's not what I'm saying.
Like, I mean, or certainly like the average Irish man on the street isn't walking around going, sure, we're rich as fuck. I mean, that was non-Irish.
He's not doing that at all. He's going to be asked to go back up fucking Nordy prick. I spent a lot of time in Dublin, that's the way they talk, just saying. But, yeah.
Dublin.
Not like that either. Dublin. Fucking singing like the fucking Thin Lizzy out there, fucking, you know, like Phil in it. That's Rosaline.
Right, got that.
It's just a rip off of the Cowboy song, by the way. Anyway,
Legend of Black Rose is the best one.
I mean, it's certainly up there. It's one of my favourite songs ever, so it's difficult to argue. But see when they do Rosaline live, and it's like Bob Saget's in the house, and then he goes into like the Cowboy song. It's like, I am just a cowboy. Brilliant. Anyway,
never seen that.
Anyway, it's one of those things. Back to what I was saying. The DUP have fuck all control over it, right? So that's what I was like. Ireland are definitely going to veto it. Ireland are relatively financial. Ireland actually hold a whole shitload of other things for the EU that people that the British public didn't seem to understand. For a start, Ireland is like the only place in the EU that has American border control, which means America and the EU have a border control in the EU for America. The EU ain't going to fuck that up because that's massive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's massive for trade, for people going in and out of the country, for getting visas. It's massive for a whole shitload of things, right? So there's that. You then have Facebook, SAP, Google, fucking every pharmaceutical company on earth are all based in Ireland. Because they're avoiding tax like a motherfucker and that. I'm not under any illusion that that's the reason they're there, but they're still there, right? And the reason that they're there is because they have a foothold in the EU. They don't have to pay any tax, so they've got loads of head offices there. Again, that works out really beneficial for Germany and France and Italy and stuff because it makes trade and all the other parts much, much easier with these companies. It makes finances much easier with these companies. Like, In this case, again, if anyone knows Arlene, let her hear this.
You're a cunt.
But also, in the nicest possible way,
You're a cunt.
Northern Irish politics in this scenario is totally irrelevant to the EU and the UK.
Most people in England didn't know who the fucking DUP were until that last election.
I know, but what I mean is even beyond that.
No,
so
but
actually,
you know, they don't
aye.
they don't give a fuck. That's what cracks me up about the Unionists in Northern Ireland. We want to be part of the UK, we love the UK. UK don't give a fuck about you, motherfuckers.
No, don't give a fuck about you, don't give a fuck about Wales, don't give a fuck about Scotland, don't give a fuck about any of them. Right?
I mean, the individuals, a lot of the individuals in the UK do give a fuck about Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, but
I know,
but a lot of them don't.
I know, but
and
also
politically they don't.
and it's politically that I'm only caring
Like
about here.
I felt kind of bad this week, right? Because I shared a few things within our Discord about the whole SNP walkout and some of the things that had been sort of posted and whatever, and Gav was like, well, fucking, you know, well, why just fuck the union and why just use fuck off and then like, you know, well, that's all right for you, isn't it? What, you know, why not fucking try and fix Westminster? And I have, you know, it made me feel guilty. Like, it is a selfish thing, really, to just be like, you know what, fuck this, let's get the fuck out of here. But at the same time, you know, the flip side of that is that I don't see how a country of 5 million can't affect the politics of a country of 60 million people, unfortunately.
The problem is, so if you look at the statistic numbers, man, we're well off subject tonight, but if you look at the numbers in like the last 30 years, no matter what way Scotland voted for anything, general elections,
Yeah, it didn't matter.
referendums, any of that, if you had removed Scotland's vote entirely from the rest of the UK, the result would have still been the exact same.
Yeah.
As in, Scotland's 6 million didn't
5.5.
yeah, 6 million to make life easy, but didn't change enough of the numbers for that to be like, decisive win by Labour, they won by 3 million, and thankfully it was because 6 million came from Scotland.
Yeah,
That
so
didn't happen.
regardless of whether we were there or not, the same government would have been in Westminster.
And the same referendum results as well.
However, if you look at Scotland in isolation in much of those situations, I think the majority of those situations, we were voting differently from the rest of the UK. So, so we were voting for something else that didn't actually affect the numbers in the rest of the UK, but it was different from the rest of the UK.
Yeah, but even in the times where it matched up,
it wouldn't have made any difference.
yeah, or even when we were voting the difference, there wasn't enough difference with the rest of the UK that it would have mattered. So essentially, the Scottish vote hasn't mattered for certainly the last 30 years in numbers anyway. I mean, I've not looked further back than that, but I would imagine you could probably go back another 60 years. And it's
Yeah,
still wouldn't have
but when there was a Labour government in the whole of the UK, it wasn't like Scotland's vote
if you had removed
tipped
Scotland's
it over.
vote, Tony Blair would have still won.
Yeah, and previous Labour governments before that as well.
Like I say, I'm only going back 30 years with these numbers, but just because essentially I'm going in almost in my lifetime type scenario.
Yeah.
So even 40 years, you know what I mean, or whatever. But if you go back that far, we've never impacted in my lifetime anything that made a difference.
Yeah.
So
and Paul Roberts kind of made the point that, you know, maybe Scotland needs to leave to effect change in Westminster. You know, maybe the union needs to be broke up in order to create some sort of constitutional crisis that means that, well, we write a constitution, for example, or something changes and something improves. But who knows? We'll see what happens. But there's certainly a very noticeable shift in the political atmosphere in Scotland over the past week and a half. I have seen people who have never been in favour of Scottish independence change their mind in this past week.
And just so you know, see, when we're talking about Ireland, Northern Ireland and all the other things, like Jerry's wife is Northern Irish.
I just spent 10 days in Northern Ireland.
Like my other half is a girl in Dublin who lives in Dublin. Do you know what I mean? I spend my time over in Dublin, so like it's not like these aren't just like like hyperbole that we're just throwing out, like scenario that we've just like we've decided that we've read. These are from our experiences, from talking to people, from knowing people, from being in these places. And so, like, when I'm saying things like Ireland are probably going to react like this, I know a lot of Irish people quite well, and I see the politics in Ireland when I'm over there. I see the papers, I hear the news. Like, the way that they're going to react to a Northern Ireland border is exactly the way that they said that they will, you know what I mean? And by the same grounds...
Neither scenario works out well for Northern Ireland, right? If there's a hard border between the North and the South, a lot of the Republicans will be fucking raging and it'll kick off. And if there's a sea border between the rest of the UK and there's no border between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, the Unionists will kick off.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem that they've got is see from... So let's take away anything to do with sectarianism and politics, right? See financially... See a hard border, Northern Ireland will feel it. Right?
Yeah.
They will feel it. And the reason
because their majority of their trade is with the South, obviously, because it's easy to trade with the South.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so the reason that I'm even saying that is because my brother's job involves working in Northern Ireland, doing stuff involving cars and finance and stuff like that. I know that they do lots and lots of trade with Southern Ireland. So if you can imagine there's 3 or 4 dealerships across the length of the border that are now suddenly not selling cars to Northern Ireland. Now they employ 10 or 15 people in each of those locations, but each of that then has a knock-on effect for all the other work and the, you know what I mean, all the other things that go along with that. Suddenly you're taking relatively small towns and having a knock-on effect financially to 20 or 30 people. That's a massive knock-on effect right across the entire border for the whole country. I mean, the country isn't full of that many people. That's one example. If you then multiply that across all the other businesses that do the same type of trade back and forth.
Everywhere along the border just jumps back and forth across the border, because there is no border, you know.
No, because I know for a fact that the folk who are near the border in like near Derry / Londonderry, they go up.
Foyle Bay area.
They go up, yes. They go up and buy their cars from Northern Ireland in some cases, but all the guys who are in Northern Ireland who bought their cars drive to Southern Ireland to get
for their petrol. Yeah.
Because it's cheaper, and in both scenarios it's cheaper. Now, the other thing that we were talking about when we were on holiday there, because I was with my brother, was I'm relatively confident, I've not checked, but I would be relatively confident to see the Antrim area. I would imagine you'll probably find there's lots of people who live who work in the outskirts of Dublin area, who live an hour up the road. It's only an hour up the road.
And where?
So see people who work in the Dublin area. See, because of the house prices in Dublin.
Yeah, but where did you say?
Like Antrim and thereabouts.
You mean Armagh?
Armagh, sorry, yes, yeah. Not Antrim, Antrim's even then, man, it's only an hour and 15 minutes.
It's not like...
It took me an hour and 25 minutes. Anyway.
From Belfast?
From Dublin.
To Armagh?
I'll show you the
to Antrim town.
To Antrim.
Antrim town. Yeah, because like Antrim town, like North Antrim's the Giant's Causeway. And
I know, but to the bottom
which
of Antrim,
is 45 minutes to an hour out of Belfast, you know.
Aye, but from the bottom of Antrim.
This is shite radio.
Anyway, my point being that from the cost difference, I wouldn't be shocked if you found that there's folk who are living in Armagh.
Why would you? What's the fucking point in that? Like, there's places within Southern Ireland which are just as cheap as up there, but wouldn't be as far away from Dublin.
Not even far away though. Well, I can.
Those ones are little, and those ones are far away.
I could ask you the same question with lots of areas outside of London that are an hour away in every direction, because the prices that are in Dublin, that if you can buy a 4 or 5 bedroom house.
I mean, the price of houses in Northern Ireland, that's ridiculous. I think we're going to move on, right?
Yeah, no, all I mean is like, so I wouldn't be shocked if you will find that there's people who are essentially, who work in Ireland but live still in Northern Ireland because it works out substantially cheaper for the houses.
Maybe.
What I mean is the business between
that's
the two
total
places.
conjecture though, really. You don't know that, if that's happening or not.
I'll put up an article to show it.
Alright, cool. Right.
I'll do that.
Right, so, good news. How long have we done?
Too long.
How long?
Don't know.
We're halfway through. So next we're going to talk about a man called Stephen Yaxley Lennon.
I've not spoken about that dick yet.
Many of you may be familiar with him by his the name which he has chosen for himself, which is Thomas or Tommy Robinson.
His name is Stephen. His name and his birth certificate is Stephen.
So he was, as many of you may well be aware, via hashtag Free Tommy, sort of campaigns on social media and various memes and various outpouring of grief and outrage at the completely and utterly incomprehensible, outrageous and unjustified arrest of Mr. Yaxley Lennon. He was arrested for trying to spread the truth about the horrific grooming of young girls by Asian rape gangs up and down the length and breadth of the good country of England. And the police force, driven by conspiratorial Muslims such as Sadiq Khan and Sajid Javid, even though he's only been in the job for 5 minutes, have caused Mr. Yaxley Lennon to end up in jail simply for trying to tell the truth.
Well, first, I'm totally lost because I thought it was Asia grape gangs.
What? I've been raped. You mean raped? No, there was a bunch of them. So that's a stolen joke.
Cheered me up. So there's a couple of things, right? So there's a couple of problems with old Steve and he's and the fact that he's got an Irish surname, but double-barreled Irish surname at that. First, one of the arguments that's put forward is, but he was only reading out the information that the BBC had already put forward. It's not how the law works. See, the problem is, before the trial, you can report on the trial. After the trial, you can report on the trial. During the trial, you can't report on the trial.
And you can't shout bits of the trial at jurors.
You also, because you're not allowed legally to report on the trial. Now, people say he's not allowed to report on the trial because it's Muslims. It's probably that he's not allowed to report on the trial
because it's children.
It's children, and it's children who are still children right now. People will then say to you stupid things like, but they were able to report on Cliff Richard, or they were able to report on fucking, what's his name, with the glass eyes and the fingers now then. Jim will fix it.
Glass eyes?
Aye, man, that's what he wore to see on his rings that he wore on his hands. They were glass eyes from people from mortuaries.
Well, that's fucking weird.
Oh, is that his weird bit? That's a weird bit with Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, he's a weird.
Fucking hell, there's a couple of things, but I mean, I can't believe it wore weird.
Yeah, I mean,
figures.
I didn't have a problem with the children fucking, but that's bizarre. No, I did obviously have a problem with the children
he had rings made of glass eyes of people from mortuaries because he's a psychopath. That's no a made up thing. Article, we'll do that. Anyway,
links.
Aye.
Get them on our website.
Effect.
Always check your sources.
But
did you see the raid down in Africa?
Yes. Links Africa.
Links Africa.
Can
I interject?
Okay.
Very briefly. The smell of Lynx Apollo always reminds me of playing Command and Conquer Red Alert. On you go.
Nice. The smell of Links Africa always reminds me of
Teenage Desperation.
Sports Centre changing rooms.
Oh, right, okay. Is that where you were raped?
Yes, it was. There was a group of them. So, people will say, but they were able to report on those things live in helicopters. It's like, yeah, because he raped those people 45 years ago, and most of them are adults who are actually at...
well, also in the case of Cliff Richard, the BBC were sued for flying a helicopter over his house.
I know, but what I mean is, like, even when they were reporting on it, they're reporting on crimes that happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it does change the legal status of the crime.
Yeah, because there's no children testifying.
Yes. So, getting back to his case, so he's not allowed to report on it.
He's also been previously warned by a judge because he has done this previously at other court cases, and he has been warned by a judge not to do it again or he will face jail time.
He also had a suspended sentence
for that.
For filming in court. Right. Now, also...
Not filming in court, but doing what he was doing.
No, it was filming in court.
Was it?
The suspended sentence was filming in court.
Right, okay, sorry.
But and then following that, he also approached the defendant. Now, people will say, that was after it happened. See if the man is a defendant. That's not after it happened.
No, because you're innocent until proven guilty
Because
by
you
our
are-
legal system.
Because you are a defendant at that point. You can't.
Even if, by the way, I'm fairly fucking sure that these people did this, right? And I hope that the law comes down on them with the hardest force possible and they receive lengthy jail sentences, because from what I can gather from what I've read about it, they did horrible things to very vulnerable people. And I think a lot of the fact that the police didn't follow up on this earlier had very little to do with the fact that they were Asian and Muslim. Might have been an effect though, but was largely to do with the background of the girls themselves and the fact that they were poor working class and that their allegations weren't taken seriously enough.
Yeah, and absolutely. So the issue is though that,
But they're still not been found guilty yet.
sorry about that, Jerry decided to fix his mic midway through the recording. So now our regular programming will return.
Hey guys.
So what I was trying to say before all that fucking noise was essentially, he was told that he wasn't allowed to report, as all media was told they weren't allowed to report within a specific time frame. He then only reported on the stuff that the BBC had reported, but legally wasn't allowed to during that court case because it could have affected in some way, shape or form the outcome of the court case.
Well, yes, yeah. Also, like, it's got a lot to do with the method, right? Because,
but what I mean is,
because
so
the BBC didn't go and shout it in defendants' faces.
But even at that, from a legal point of view, whether they wanted to or not, it doesn't matter. Between these period of time, they weren't allowed to report on it. And then, this is actually the crux of where I'm getting to with this. So then he then had a go at the defendant when the defendant was walking by, or had an exchange with the defendant. When he was arrested and went to court, he testified on himself and admitted and pleaded guilty to the fact that he knew he wasn't meant to report it and what he done was against the law. So, beyond anything else that we're going to talk about, he said he knew he was breaking the law, and as such he was aware of the crime he was committing when he done it. That was premeditated. He decided that he was going to do that. Now, some people will say he didn't have his lawyer and he was given another lawyer who don't, because people say this, right? And he was given another lawyer who told him to just plead guilty. The reason the lawyer told him to just plead guilty was because he was fucking guilty. And he knew he was guilty. And we all know, because we are adults, that he is fucking guilty. Right? Now, is there a problem with Asian rape gangs? Probably. Is there a problem with the police not doing the right thing about it? Probably. Did he jeopardise a court case because he doesn't know when to shut his fucking mouth? Probably. Did he stand in front of any court in his immediate area and do the same with the 90% of sex offenders who were done that were white in the previous year?
Yeah.
No.
Are Asians statistically more likely to rape? No.
So actually, I can give you these numbers. So see if you look at sex offences as a whole. So it's not broken down to child sex offences, because just so you are aware, a little known fact, it doesn't come up that often. Very rarely when they do anything on court records, they don't write down he was a Paki guy, he was a black guy. Essentially, they say Mr. X committed this, and sometimes the name looks Asian as fuck. But other times, there is no way to determine if the man's fucking Islamic, because his name could be Steve Yaxley Lennon. He could still be fucking Muslim, because...
Or a pedo.
Aye. You know what? Aye. But if you look at the statistic numbers...
He was really good in Blackadder, though.
Steve Yaxley Lennon.
No, Tommy Robinson.
Right. Aye. Tommy and his time team.
Yeah, that's a guy.
Time to shut your fucking mouth and let the legal process happen.
He had a really cunning plan.
He just didn't execute it very well. He was fucking baldrick you in.
More cunning than a fox that's just been appointed Professor of Cunning at Oxford University.
So, the issue lies that he doesn't... So, just quickly, before I actually get to that, 2017. In 2017... 90% of the sex crimes across the board, including rape and child rape and everything else that were committed by white men. White Christian, but essentially white men. The other 10% were committed by other. Mostly, I'm not going to take that away, mostly from the numbers that we can run, it looks like about between 8 and 10% of that was actually Muslim men.
Yes.
Now,
And there is an issue with the sort of grooming gang culture.
Yeah,
Like that seems to be a thing, an identifiable cultural issue, a method which has occurred
a method.
frequently.
Yeah. Now, but the only problem
In the
was-
same manner that priests fuck loads of fucking kids.
Yeah, because the method they used was being creepy paedophiles that became priests. The problems that you have is in the UK, roughly, don't fucking touch that microphone. In the UK, between 8 and 10% of the population are Muslim. So if we look at the numbers, if 90% of the people who commit crimes in the UK of the sex crime type are white males, and about 10% of them are Muslims, there's a negligible small number between them, but in the grand
Yeah,
scheme
but
of
that
about
basically lines up exactly statistically
the
with
amount of people you would expect.
how
Essentially-
the population's divided up.
Essentially, if you say that people commit sex crimes in some form or another, then the percentage who commit sex crimes who are Muslim and the percentage who commit sex crimes that are white correspond to the amount of people in the UK who are white.
I don't like sex crime because it kind of makes it sound like, hey, a bit of sex crime. It's rape. They're like rape and abuse.
No,
like,
that's the only reason I'm saying that is because it's a plethora of sex crimes that come
rape,
under that.
abuse, assault, sexual
Yeah.
sexual abuse, like horrible, shitty, fucking nasty ways to behave.
Maybe we were talking about what I couldn't put in the side of a bus. It's again the problem here. Sex crimes are a much easier way to... I know it doesn't... I know
Sex crime sounds like a fucking Prince song though. Hey, sex crime!
that's twice you made a Prince reference this evening.
Not in the actual show.
Oh, good.
It's the first time.
So anyway, so the issues then lie with him that he admitted to committing a fucking crime that he knew he had committed, that we all knew he had committed. So that's the first issue. So he's in jail. So cry a river, dickface, you're in jail because you have decided to be a fucking cardboard fucking journalist, but you have made no effort to understand the fucking laws that journalists are bound by because you are just a fucking self-righteous, arrogant prick who's pushing a fucking racist agenda behind a fucking faux fucking crusade against paedophiles, but you don't give a flying fuck that your associates, that other white people or that people in your fucking area are paedophiles. It's only if they're brown paedophiles, and that makes you a cunt.
And presumably your arse looks like a turtleneck sweater about now.
Oh, but do you know, I was going to say, like, do you know what? Let's not. Anyway, so there's that, right? That's
Yeah,
where the issue
yeah.
lies.
That's what it is.
That's where the issue lies, right? See everything else that people will argue. See when people talk about how the fucking police are fucking protecting paedophiles or anything like that. See if you believe that. Well, you're wrong. But see in the event you believe it and you want to fucking try and justify. Sorry, we're pouring more wine because we need it because we're talking about you actually, prick. That's fine, but you have to understand that he committed a crime and see the fucking moral fucking high horse that he sits on. It's that fucking people are coming over here, not adhering to British law, and they're fucking trying to make fucking Shania Twain in charge of the fucking legal scenario or something to that effect.
People coming over here taking our rapes.
I won't say fucking people coming over here and forcing Shania Twain. That's what we have to listen to. So, see in the event that's his genuine belief system, see when he knows and openly admits he has broke a law, the only thing he can do to make his fucking crusade just, to make everything that he says worth it, is accept the fact that he's broke the law, go to jail for 3 years, shut his fucking mouth, and tell his fucking followers to shut their fucking mouth.
Yeah, because probably in Sharia law, he would be allowed to do everything that he did.
True that. Also, people have been arguing about Shania Twain because of this. Mostly Sharia law.
Man, I feel like raping a woman.
Man, I feel like a Muslim. Is that not? Anyway. So,
Man, I feel like a gender reassignment. I don't know.
Nah, I very much doubt that if it was she's enforcing
It
the law.
would be amazing though. Imagine like when we're in our 60s.
If Shania Twain was a man.
No, I'm going to say if Tommy Robinson
Alright.
gender realigns,
Or both of them did and then got married.
become Tanaya Robinson.
Nah, it probably just used one of his other names. He's probably called fucking Jessica or something, but no, anyway, he's been in jail for about 20 minutes.
Or Stephanie actually Lennon.
He's probably getting called whatever the fuck he wants.
Probably getting called lots of things.
Darling. Sugar lumps.
But yeah, like the amount of fucking thing that I saw shared on social media by people, you know.
Don't fucking call them people. They don't deserve that. These are absolute grade A mutants. They're sharing stuff that they don't fucking understand and talking about stuff that they don't understand.
Okay, but this is the problem, right? Because what I was going to say was I saw people who I was friends with on Facebook who I considered to be relatively well educated, like certainly in the field that I'm aware of them via.
Are you having a dig at my free Tommy posts? You fucking asshole.
You know, like folk who are relatively well educated, technically competent people who achieved a high level of education, spouting about freedom of speech when they don't fucking understand the situation at all, don't understand the legal implications of what he did.
Here's a problem. See in the event Tommy Robinson done something. See in the event Stephen Yaxley Lennon done something that has jeopardised a paedophile rape gang going to jail who have been preying on children.
He's cost the taxpayer money.
He is absolutely complicit in that child rape. He is. If he stopped him from going to jail and it happens again at all by any of them at any point,
It's his fault.
He has caused that. He is complicit in that at that point. He is.
I believe that a retrial never. It wasn't. It was. They moved for a retrial, but I believe that it's not occurred. That there hasn't. It's not been a mistrial, and they're not going to retrial. They're just going ahead with the current proceedings, is my understanding of it. So at least, thank the Lord, that hasn't happened.
No thanks to Stephen.
No thanks to Stevie. Free Stevie.
Free Steve. Steve Yaxley Lennon.
Cunt.
You know,
Right.
do you ever think to yourself, I want to be liked by the general public, I want to make myself sound British as fuck. My double-barreled surname that ends on an Irish surname probably isn't the best way to go.
I love that it went for Tommy as well, like Tommy, you know, like the old
Like the
British
gun.
Tommy, yeah, the old British Tommy in
Like
the
it's-
trenches.
Tommy is the name of that's it. Tommy's the name of, see the fallen soldier?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how I know this? See Councillor Bob Burgers?
But that was the nickname for all British soldiers in the war, wasn't it?
But as it turns out, when I was discussing with Councillor Bob Burgers about the whole Orange Walk scenario, I noticed on his Facebook account that you can order like a Tommy statue and stuff like that represents the fallen soldier, and that's what it's called now. So convenient they would use Tommy and Robinson, the classic famous squash from Wimbledon.
Yeah. Who's going to make lemon barley now that he's in jail? I think it's exactly the same.
He's getting his oranges crushed though.
It's exactly the same. Exactly the same nominative technique that was employed by Gideon Osborne. This sounds too posh. I'm going to call myself George.
Or a whole shitload of fascists throughout history. Just saying. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah, try. I'm just a common man. I'm just one of you common men. But he's a cunt. And I don't really want to waste my breath on him.
Just so quickly, a couple of things that I've seen that people have used to defend him. They've been like, but when there was guys who was racist, he ended up headbutting them, and then that's why he ended up leaving fucking
EDL.
EDL. Do you know what? Don't care. He's still a fucking racist, right? He's just fucking lying to you. And then it's like, I didn't want to have anything to do with the fucking paedophiles that were involved in EDL. Nah, I probably didn't, but he did have something to do with them and hung about with them for fucking ages, and they were his mates, and that's just a fact. And he wasn't standing fucking protesting how they were all fucking rapey.
No, well that's it. He wasn't covering their court cases in the interest of freedom of speech, was he?
Because he's full of shit. He's full of shit. I'm sorry. There's lots of things that we'll fucking talk about and do this. So he is full of shit.
He's just a racist.
Him
He's
and Arlene
just
Foster.
a racist.
Fucking the pair of them can fuck off.
She's
Into the sea. The pair of them.
into the sea.
Alright.
Yeah.
fucking. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Let's go across the sea to another fucking shower account.
let's go across the sea to America, and quite a light-hearted story I've got for you to start with. This is all about the dog.
I'm so glad you opened up with the dog and not with the Walmart story, because the Walmart story is much
not
darker.
light-hearted.
And when you said that, I thought, whoa, it's light-hearted, I suppose, in comparison to child rape gangs, but not much.
So this was a story that was shared by a friend of mine that I know from Texas, all about a canine, a hero during the 9/11 attacks.
This story might be one of the stupidest things that I've heard in about 3 months.
9/11, the 9th of November.
9/11.
We're taking our fucking... Like, that's their bullshit. That 9/11 bullshit.
So it's the 11th of the 9th.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking...
So 11th
9th of November, attacks.
The attacks that happened on the 9th of November that nobody knows about because they were too busy grieving over the ones that happened on the 11th of September, which would be 11/9.
So the September 11th attacks, when the planes were flown into the World Trade Centers, there was a dude, it turns out, called James Crane, a blind guy who worked at the World Trade Center.
Did he do the stock exchange? Because one would imagine, being blind, you would be impeded doing that. What are lettuces at? They're down. Right? Like,
It's not very nice, Paul.
I can't imagine anybody at the stock exchange is very nice, Jerry.
Oh yeah, good point, well made. So this was this basic text of the video which my friend shared, right? It said James Kane worked on the 101st fucking hell, man.
The 104th first.
James Crane worked on the 101st floor of Tower 1 of the World Trade Center. He is blind, so he has a golden retriever. You notice how they changed the tense there? So he worked, but now he is in present there. A golden retriever named Daisy. After the plane hit 20 stories below, James knew that he was doomed, so he let Daisy go out of an act of love. With tears in her eyes.
In her eyes?
The dog's eyes.
Just checking, continue.
The dog was crying. I imagine James relayed that piece of information.
He rubbed her eyes.
Yeah, just to check.
Your eyes are wet.
I just pulled your eyes, they're all wet. You must be crying. It might have just stuck his fingers in her nostrils.
Your eyes are wet and tongue shaped.
Your eyes are wet, and you're very healthy.
Your eyes are wet and smell like an anus.
With tears in her eyes, she darted away into the darkened hallway. Choking on the fumes of the jet fuel and the smoke, James was just waiting to die.
Can I just check?
I'd have had a wank.
Can I just check a couple of things? Firstly, how many floors are on the World Trade Center?
110, I believe.
And what floor?
He was on the 101st floor.
And what?
Don't worry, I'll get to that.
Cool. And also, she was choking on the smoke and the fumes from the fuel. Or and the
Choking
fuel,
on the fumes of the jet fuel and the smoke.
which by this point have both the fumes
Melted the steel beams.
the fumes have raised
Dank memes, melt steel beams.
20 floors.
Yeah, presumably.
I mean,
I think it... oh yeah, he was. Yeah. They were rising up there.
so
Paul.
I'm no scientist, but I'm relatively confident that's not how flammable fumes work.
I feel that you're breaking the flow of the beautiful story that I'm trying to tell.
So the dog's greeting and choking.
No, James is choking. James was just waiting to die.
Oh no, but I thought Daisy was choking in the corridor.
No. See, if you would listen.
Oh, that's the problem. I was too busy worried about a crying golden retriever.
Right. Choking on the fumes of the jet fuel and the smoke, James was just waiting to die. About 30 minutes later, Daisy came back along with James's boss, who Daisy happened to pick up on floor 112. But there weren't 112 floors on the World Trade Center. That was the bit that was...
So Daisy went up?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, when there's a fire in a building, you go for the roof, don't you?
And also, Daisy picked up the boss.
I mean, presumably, she didn't stick him on her saddle. Maybe she, like, went all battle cat and he was riding her around like in He-Man. So it's a possibility.
Possibly, tell me more about this.
It's
story.
as plausible as the rest of this story is. On her first run of the building, she led James's boss, and about 300 more people out of the doomed building.
Down 101 floors.
But she wasn't through yet. She knew there were others who were trapped. Against James's wishes, she ran back in the building.
No, Daisy, don't! And the boss was like, that's not Daisy.
On her second run, she saved 392 lives. A lot more specific than the 300 in the first bit. Again, she went back in. During this run, the building collapsed. James heard this and fell on his knees into tears. I don't know if there was tears on the floor because he'd been crying. All the people around about would be crying. There was a little pool, or if he fell on his knees and he started crying.
Did he fall in unison with the building?
Oh, like a little bit of poetic ballet. Nice.
Because the thing is, he was blind, so it would have been pure guesswork at his part.
Sure, but he has a finely attuned sense of hearing because his other senses make up for it. So he heard the creaking in the beams before they actually started to collapse.
So he was like Daredevil?
Yes. He's
Nice.
exactly like Daredevil.
Daredevil with a dog called Daisy?
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of D's.
A lot of D's in there. It's like good alliteration.
Daredevil's dog called Daisy.
Against all odds, Daisy made it out alive, but this time she was carried by a firefighter. She led us right to the people before she got injured. The fireman lied.
The fireman. And the boss replied, why were you not doing your job?
Yeah, why were you... What, so you followed the dog?
You followed a dog running up a burning building? You fucking... And then you carried the fucking dog out? What the fuck?
Where's all these people you say you saved? Oh, they were right here.
I was going to carry a child, but I thought, I'll carry Daisy.
I think they're coming. I'm pretty sure they're coming.
And your man who's blind was just like, somebody is.
Hey. Our final run saved another 273 lives. She suffered acute smoke inhalation, severe burns on all 4 paws and a broken leg, but she saved 967 lives. The next week, Mayor Giuliani rewarded Daisy with the Canine Medal of Honor of New York. Daisy is the first civilian canine to win such an honor.
This story is fucking bollocks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like for a start, the boss was on a floor, 2 floors above a floor that existed, right? So the boss was a solid, like, fucking 18 feet above the height of the building that was on fire.
Literally, I started typing into Google James Crane dog, and you know how it like comes up with like the suggested answer. It just went, it's bollocks, mate. It's fucking bollocks.
What's weird is when I heard the story, I searched for Canine Award blind dog, and it came up with the same story and said, this is still bollocks. Doesn't matter how you search for this, guys.
It's just bollocks. So, as always, check your sources before you share shit on social media.
Otherwise, do you know what? This.
You might look foolish.
No, do this. Think to yourself, did a dog save 900 people? Seeing you.
And why has there not been a film made about this in the last 17 years?
Did the dog...
I mean, they made a film about everybody dying on an oil rig where nobody was saved.
They literally made a film about everybody dying on a plane about this same story.
Yeah. So, and nobody thought, fuck it, you know, we should probably make it...
Fucking hero dog.
I mean, people were spunking in their pants over Marley and Me because a dog died, and he didn't save 900 odd people.
People fucking were spunking on a Seabiscuit. I believe I don't know if that's exactly where I was going. You know what I mean. But anyway, the point being, that blind dog did not find a man 18 feet above, fucking floating above the building. Bring him down.
Because he was blind. That blind dog.
The dog was crying. A thing that there's no one to confirm if that was... Maybe...
He was getting very superstitious.
So you're suggesting that through all of this, he was doing a Stevie
The
Wonder impression?
dog was blind and was doing a Stevie Wonder impression.
The dog was blind?
You said it was a blind dog?
No, I mean, like it's a seeing eye dog. Which is the opposite of a blind dog.
That's the opposite of a blind dog.
A no seeing eye dog. Anyway, this story was shite.
It was pish.
But it was beautiful at the same time.
It was like, I mean, it would have been nice if it was true. It would have been life affirming and beautiful. But life's not like that.
Was there anyone that managed to get from the 110th floor down?
A couple of folk did it really quickly.
That's 2 hours.
That look was beautiful.
That's 2 hours 36 minutes. In the off chance I do delete this from the cast.
I don't delete it. It was just a wee 9/11 suicide joke. We've all told them.
Classic. So how can we tell a cheerier story, Jerry? So let's say we're talking about 9/11 suicide jokes. So do you want to talk about? Are we talking about Waynes and Cages?
No, we're not on Waynes and Cages yet. Although, as much as that's obviously a horrible image and not nice language in terms of meaning, there's something the flow of that wee sentence just sounds nice.
Waynes and Cages sounds
Waynes and Cages.
Sounds exactly like a grunge album.
It's got the I think I've looked this up before in the middle of the podcast. It's like alliteration but in the middle of a word. I can never remember what it's called. What was Brangelina called again? Do you remember? Like that kind of word where they're mashed together.
No, mashy wordy.
Mashy
Wordiness. I know Paul Roberts right now is fucking screaming words. It's
Portmanteau.
like, you fucking idiots!
Brangelina is
Fu Manchu!
Brangelina's a portmanteau.
Fu Manchu.
So like, what would King Jong-un and Trump be?
Waste of time.
Trim.
Two dictators.
Except they're not.
Two fat dictators with shit hair pretending to care about people.
I don't think you're really get buying it, the idea of a portmanteau, are you?
No, I don't understand this Fu Manchu at all.
Waynes and Cages. Alliteration in the middle of a word.
Waynes and Cages sounds like a grunge album. It absolutely sounds like a grunge album. Have you heard the new Blind Melon album? What's it called? Waynes and Cages.
I think it's called like
This makes shit
radio. Yeah, you're right. Okay, sorry. Consonants.
Did you say consonants?
Consonants, yeah, but
like
not
vowels?
like consonants
Alright.
with a TS, but consonants with a CE. No. Actually, that's bullshit. I'm talking.
No. Bullshit's a different word.
It's not consonants. It's assonants. I think actually it doesn't say that here anywhere, but I think it's assonants is what I was thinking of.
Paul, send us a message and tell us.
It'll be assonants.
I know Paul Roberts knows this and he's fucking raging that we're talking about it. Raging, you know he is.
Anyway, right. So Kim Jong-un, very briefly on Kim Jong-un and Trump. We don't really have a lot on
They
this.
met, they didn't meet, they were going to meet, and finally they did meet. I bet they shagged hunters.
They like the imagery was quite striking.
Sexual. Alright, sorry.
Like, did you see the sort of the shots of them sitting, shaking hands with all the sort of North Korean flags and the stars and stripes round about them, etc.?
I noticed that the colouring and star scenario is very, very similar.
They are quite similar flags, actually. They are like really similar flags. But there seemed to be quite, to me, looking at it as an outsider, obviously, to be quite a hefty amount of mutual respect between them. Like, I genuinely, and I've said this before, I think on here, I genuinely believe that that's the kind of leader that fucking Trump wants to be. That's what he aspires to. That's what he thinks makes a good leader. That's how he believes his country should be run.
You know how sometimes you see two fat pricks fighting outside a pub and none of them win and they end up like shaking hands and like being alright with each other at the end of it? There's like a mutual respect between them. That doesn't make either of them good or okay.
I don't think I never suggested for a minute that I thought either of them were good or okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's maybe mutual respect between the two of them, but I mean, so, in all honesty, I've always said the fact from when we done the episode, certainly with North Korea, that I don't believe that. Right, so, I don't believe North Korea treats North Korean people particularly well. We have evidence of that. But I also don't.
We also have quite a lot of evidence that the USA doesn't treat people particularly well.
I'll get to that. But I don't believe.
Wins in cages.
Yeah, I don't believe that North Korea necessarily are doing everything that's happening out of just badness, and some of it is out of necessity because of the way that they have been treated and handled in the world for quite a long period of time now.
Yeah,
and
they've suffered massive sanctions.
They have, and that's had a knock-on effect. I'm not saying that then the way they've treated their people have been right, so certain people can live at a level of luxury still, but essentially...
Well, they have elites there in the same way that we do.
Yeah, and right now, maybe it's not comparable, but right now there's elites in the UK and the US and many other countries.
Do you know what? I think it is. I think that it's exactly comparable.
Who are living a very, very lush, high quality life where people are fucking living in absolute squalor.
I reckon if you looked at
concentration camps,
the level of wealth inequality, it can't be that much different.
Different is the concentration camps, I'd imagine. Not so much in America because they still have them, just pretend they don't. We'll get to that. But yeah, so from the North Korea's point of view, I believe it's within their interests to try and snuggle up to America and the rest of the world now that they have shown that they can have nuclear weapons. So they can,
or if perhaps their nuclear program has failed.
No, but even beyond that, the fact that they showed at any point...
But maybe that is why.
Oh, maybe it is, but what I mean is the fact that they showed...
Or maybe it's all Trump's master plan and he was right all along.
Maybe, but it seems unlikely because I don't know if he could master plan his way out of his fucking bed. Big fucking ginger, orange asshole prick, wank bag fag.
He went quite heavy on the opinion tonight, didn't he?
Fucking no, your biggest fan. But aye, so we Kim, I don't.
Kardashian or...
I'll let him. With the nuclear...
Karlstrom.
yes. With his nuclear program, as I said in the episode, we're getting on to fucking 3/4 of a year ago now. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it was like November or something like that. We done the episode. Started December, end of November, something like that.
Yeah.
That now they've shown
episode 9.
Now they've shown there's a nuclear. Now they've shown they have nuclear capability. They can now start to try and fix the sanctions and fix the way that they're being perceived and subjected by the allied forces and the likes, which they may or may not then translate that to a better world for the rest of the people in the country. I'd take a fucking stab in the dark and say that they won't, but at least gives them the opportunity to try it. What I'm essentially saying here is from Kim Jong-un's point of view, he has done all the things that he said that he was going to do, and he is continuing to do the things that has been said or suggested that they were going to do regarding his country. There is a benefit for him to now snuggle up with these people. From Trump's point of view, all he done was jeopardise that twice, then met up with him, and then some fucktards in America have said things like he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize because they don't understand, firstly, what the Nobel Peace Prize is given out for, and secondly...
Well, what... right... Objectively, if there was to be peace between South and North Korea off the back of this, you don't think that a Nobel Peace Prize is an apt award to somebody for brokering a deal which is, they have essentially been at war since... What, the 50s?
But why Trump? Think about this, right? So like, I'll give you this, right? So Trump is...
Well, what did Barack Obama get a Nobel Peace Prize for?
Killing Syrian Waynes.
No, but I mean, really, like, he has a Nobel Peace Prize.
No, but that doesn't mean that you should just give it to any cunt because he gave it to the wrong person before.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I would argue... I'm gonna check in a wee minute what Barack Obama nominally received his Peace Prize for, but he received it more or less straight after he'd been awarded, like became the president, right? Being inaugurated and whatever. I can't really fathom what the reason for that would have been, but I'm sure there was one, and I'll have a look at that. But I'd be inclined to suggest that if you are of the mindset that Trump is responsible for brokering some sort of peace between North and South Korea, that perhaps he would be
I'll put it to you that
worthy of a peace prize.
no matter who the president was in the United States at the time, if North Korea had shown that they had working nuclear capability, there would be peace talks.
Quite possibly, but
Not even quite possibly.
But that's
There would have been.
that's neither
So,
neither here nor there.
But that doesn't mean that Trump has done anything here. Trump has just
Played a very, very shrewd game.
he's reacted to a sequence of events that any president would have had to have acted in the same way. Essentially, now North
What,
Korea,
by tweeting that he was a fucking fat
No,
little rocket man with
no.
a stupid haircut?
he's a fucking muppet.
Maybe he's just a
What was your
genius.
mind games?
Is it? Well, like, I mean,
I know
no,
you don't believe it. Don't be silly.
no, but realistically,
Keeps kids in cages.
that's a separate issue.
Is it? No. Is it?
It's a separate issue, Paul.
Is it? Is
Like,
it? No.
Look at the
Is
fact.
how's his wall going?
Look,
Is
I
it
mean,
no?
everybody else has tried.
Tariffs.
Everybody else has tried proper diplomacy with North Korea for 50 years or more and gained zero respect from them. Trump, being the way Trump is, has actually, I think, and I genuinely believe this, by the way, just this one little bit, this little sentence, genuinely believe that Trump being the way he has been towards Kim Jong-un has gained Kim Jong-un's respect because he hasn't played the political game that every other motherfucker before him has played. He's actually went, "You're a wee fat fucker," and he's went, "Oh, you're a fucking orange-faced fucker," and then they both kind of went, "Oh, you're getting a bit back, and you're getting a bit back. Oh, you're actually all right, you." You know, that kind of, like you said, two Mongols having a fight with each other.
No, but I think what's happened is Kim Jong-un finally got nuclear weapons and Trump has shot it because it's now like, "You're a fat prick. No, you're a fat prick. I've got nuclear weapons. Maybe you're not a fat prick. Let's talk." Like, it's not the same thing.
But
Do you know what I
but
mean?
he's never, like, there's been breakdowns and there's been Trump firing off at Kim Jong-un.
Aye, but
Even since
Kim Jong-un hasn't chased the fix. It's all came from America's point of view. Like, because America, I don't believe that this is just Trump here. Like, I genuinely believe the scenario is America are now in a scenario where, like America do not believe that North Korea will nuke America, right? But America do believe that North Korea will nuke South Korea. And that will absolutely fuck America. It will fuck America from shipping point of view. It will fuck America from steel production point of view. It will fuck America from oil point of view. And it will fuck America from electronics point of view. Right? And it will also fuck them from their logistical, tactical position from Russia and China regarding the Korean Peninsula. So now North Korea have handed over a scenario that says, "We'll just murder fucking every cunt. We'll kill every cunt in North Korea and South Korea. There's nothing you can do about it. We'll turn it into a fucking nuclear wasteland." So now America has to step up and be like, "Let's have a diplomatic meeting. Let's not have the sanctions. Let's create peace." Because the other scenario is, North Korea is a fucking country ran by a group of psychopaths who now have the ability to create a nuclear explosion. The ballistics missile bit is totally irrelevant.
Do you think the imagery of like Kim Jong-un meeting with the South Korean leader and the imagery of Kim Jong-un kind of meeting with Trump Kim Jong-un doesn't really come across like a psychopath?
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Interestingly, like, the media haven't framed him as a psychopath in those reports of him, right? So then you start to wonder how much of my feeling towards him as an individual has been massively framed by the narrative round about him that I'm looking at. So for the past 4 or 5 or 6 years since he's came into power, every report I've been looking at of him has framed him as a madman. And all of a sudden, he's been framed as a wee kind of jolly guy suing for peace and kind of, you know, shaking hands with the South Korean leader and stepping over borders and looking jolly and whatever. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at him thinking, you know, he kind of seems all right.
But that's why I said North Korea is a country being led by psychopaths, not led by a psychopath.
So you don't think that
I think that most of the military leaders who were the advisors to his father have had
a lot of them get killed.
Some of them get killed. Not a lot of them get killed.
A lot of them.
Right. Some of them get killed. But there's still a whole pile of them. Various uncles and brothers and, I don't know, fucking cousins or whatever.
I don't think there's any brothers or cousins or that fucking... I don't think anybody with any kind of claim to any kind of power is kicking about anymore because he had loads of them killed.
His sister is very good at media, right? And she has presented him in the way that he is now to be presented. They have now got a bargaining chip that they didn't have before, and suddenly they...
What's that?
The fact that they could murder every cunt in Seoul.
Apart from the fact we don't definitely know.
No, we do know that. We know that they can't fire.
But they've had that for years.
No, they've not. Not a working proper nuclear bomb.
No. But we don't know they have a.
No, we do.
Well,
we don't know. No, we don't know they have a proper working ICBM. These are two very different things. This is my point. An ICBM means that you can hit somewhere in America.
Right.
A working nuclear warhead means that you can murder every cunt in Seoul.
Right.
Right. These are two very different things.
But that would be like me firing a nuclear weapon at like Manchester or Newcastle, and I mean it would affect me just as badly as it would affect Newcastle.
Aye, but it wouldn't.
They'd still all be out with their t-shirts on.
I would affect you as much as it would affect Newcastle, but if Newcastle was the place that was generating a large percentage of various parts of industry for the rest of the UK, it would affect the UK substantially more than it would affect any outcome that you have negative. Like, you're looking at it. You're looking at it from some weird sane.
I'm just.
But from a sane scenario,
yeah.
Then it's like, oh, why would that affect me? But if you go in the idea that they absolutely definitely have a big fucking massive nuclear bunker that they can sit in and they don't give a fuck about the rest of their country, then they'll murder every cunt, but they'll set back industry in the fucking Western world.
Can I propose a third narrative?
Years.
Maybe they've all just sat down and went, how are we going to exploit these mineral assets that we have? Because we don't really have the technology. You guys do. Let's strike a deal that's going to be massively beneficial for all of us.
The only way that I could imagine that, though, is if China were involved. Massively. I just can't. I can't perceive a scenario where.
But
China...
don't you think like China definitely are involved in getting them all to sit down?
No. But what I mean is, like, so see China and then Russia to a lesser extent. See, because of how close they sit to the border, as in they border them. I can't imagine that any of the assets would find their way to the Western world. I just don't. No, maybe it would have 15, 20 years ago. But I don't think we live in a world now where China and Russia give any fucks about the United States of America. I don't
think China and Russia do, but maybe just got a better offer. I mean, there's evidence that we saw evidence in the episode that the support that North Korea had been receiving from both China and Russia had depleted somewhat over, the course of about 20 years.
I think that the way that I perceive it is...
And that massively matched the kind of famine and poverty that they were experiencing. Like the fall of the Soviet Union led to their big famines.
The way that I see it, though, is that they have a bargaining chip with the United States right now. As in, they can cause carnage in Seoul, and that will make a difference to Western technology, Western assets. You know it well more than anybody, do you know what I mean? You know what the shipbuilding is like. And then if you look at the steel production that goes into the US, from externally. They're the largest steel producers in the world. Are Chinese and South Korean. If you then look at the electronics, look at Samsung, look at all those other things, they're not going to affect there. I don't believe they have that same bargaining chip with China or Russia. I don't believe they can threaten them. We're going to blow up South Korea. Fucking batter in. We're going to blow up China. You're not. No, we are. No, I think you'll find you're not. We'll just fucking murder all yous. We are not America. We are not going to pretend to be nice. We will just murder all of yous. Like, I think there's a massive fallacy that the Western people do is they apply Western ideologies and mentality to Asian states. I don't believe this is a scenario here. I believe it's quite straightforward. There was never a scenario where they wanted to build an ICBM and shoot America. No cunt in their fucking right mind, not even Russia at the peak of its power, actually done that. Because there is no outcome that serves you any purpose at all. But you can absolutely threaten to do it to something that America needs. That's what they have as a bargaining chip. That's what they can sit down at the table and say, you now have to accept us in the world platform. You have to remove stuff. You have to give us the benefit of the doubt. You have to let us do things that we want to do. There's no other country that they can do that with right now because there's not another fucking area on earth that America have got such a fucking hard on for taking over as North Korea. I mean, we showed that in the episode. Literally, you've got the last 120 years.
Iran.
I don't think they want to take over Iran. I just think they don't want Iran to exist. It's not the same thing. They don't want to own Iran as an asset. They just don't want Iran to own Iran as an asset. You want to own Iran as an asset?
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, if it's on offer, like, I would be a very just and kind leader.
Bet you would. That's what they all say, Jerry.
No, but I mean, you know, they have massive assets. Like, so with Iran, we set up the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, had a pretty good relationship going with them. They had a democratically elected government come in like the 50s, 60s, who nationalised the oil and kicked us the fuck out. And so us and the Americans clubbed together and placed the Shah back in charge and murdered all the democratically elected leaders. And
Classic Western world. Classic Western.
Yeah, because he would then sell the oil and stuff to us and share profits with us, and we did all right out of it. He did massively well out of it and lived an extremely lavish lifestyle while his subjects were living in abject poverty, which sowed the seeds of the Islamic Revolution in 79. You know, it's just the fucking age-old story of us. And they still have, you know, access to that fucking the largest gas field in the world. They have massive petrochemical assets in that country. Why would America not want to go into Iran?
I never say that they don't want to go into Iran. I say that we can show historically there's been attempts to take control of the asset that is the North Korean and the full Korean peninsula for much longer than there is logically anywhere else. Because see, oil and gas and assets like that, America own a fuckload of it around the world now. Fuckloads of it. But they don't have the closest military location that they have at the present moment that is actually from a Cuban Missile Crisis type level of security that they could have is South Korea. If they own North Korea, then they're literally in the border of their two biggest threats. That's a that's.
It's not that much of a encroachment in a territorial sense, like from where they are at the moment.
I'd disagree. I'd say that it makes
North Korea's not that large.
But it's
I mean, strategically, right? They're on the Korean Peninsula already, so a couple of fucking extra 100 miles. What difference is that going to make?
Because if you have control of North Korea, you can build missile silos across the entire border of China and.
So you can hit further in.
Well, it means you can hit them without their defence systems being able to take them down. Because you can firstly fire lower flying missiles straight into fucking cities that you can't fly. Like anything you fly high is a target. Anything you fly low can't get picked up by radar. I mean, radar has a fucking bottom out, you know what I mean? It can only fucking pick up so low. It matters massively to have a fucking... Japan aren't going to let them build fucking 60 billion fucking missile silos, because a secret that people don't really talk about Japan is that Japan aren't a massive fan of America. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was this thing, I don't know if you recall it.
For realsies.
We were having this problem in Europe, and there was this other issue that was happening in the Pacific. I don't know if you're aware of it. Shit got a bit Pearl Harbor-y. And like, so they don't have a strategic position that they can actually... Like, the biggest threat to America in the world right now is essentially China and Russia. And it's not even Russia. Russia are the biggest aggro bastards in the whole of the fucking world, but China's the biggest threat. Because what America can never deal with is the sheer quantity of numbers. Numbers. You can, like, see when you've got more people than America has bullets, so you can just throw people in front of the fucking bullets endlessly until they run out of bullets. That's a problem for America. China's a problem, and they need to have a strategic position on top of China, and that's why, for the, I mean, the fucking history has shown us from before. Fuck, man. Queen Victoria was only just dead when they were trying to fucking take North Korea the first time round, do you know what I mean?
But the rhetoric at the moment is ramping up quite severely on Iran. And so back in October, it was all about North Korea. And I'm going to do this to North Korea, I'm going to do that to North Korea. At the moment, or certainly for a good few months there, it's kind of died down a wee bit in the past couple of weeks. It's all been about Iran, right? So that's next on the agenda. For me, that's, you know, they're blowing the Iran treaty out of the water.
I agree Iran's the next target, but I agree but I believe that's just because North Korea now can't be one. Like, essentially, North Korea have played a comedy there, trump card, and they've said, we'll just murder every cunt.
But the idea is that that's what Iran have been trying to do as well, right?
I know, but Iran haven't actually shown that they're going to, or that they have the capability of. And in the grand scheme of things, there is no benefit in Iran. Like, who is Iran going to nuke? Who? Actually, who?
Israel.
Are they though? I mean, are they actually? Like, they have a lot of fighting with Israel, but okay, so I'll actually ask this. Do you think that Trump, especially, but Trump's America, actually care about Israel?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
See, I don't think they do.
Well, I'll tell you why they do.
Why?
Because the Republican Party relies quite heavily on the support of serious fundamentalist Christian groups, a lot of whose belief is in the rapture and in the end times. And one of the prophecies leading towards Revelations and the rapture is that the Temple of Solomon will be rebuilt in Jerusalem. So getting Israel into Jerusalem and getting Israel control of Jerusalem is an American foreign policy of the Republican Party, and has been for a number of years because of the far-right Christian fundamentalists of America.
But I don't believe that the Republican Party's America and Trump's America are the same thing. I don't believe the Republican Party have any control over Trump in the States.
Trump is surrounded by a large number of people who believe in that shit. Oh, no. Mike Pence is his vice president.
But I don't believe...
And Mike Pence was put there by Mercer and Bannon.
But I don't believe that Trump has...
And shares
have any
their
control
belief.
over Trump. I don't believe that the Republicans have any
Do you believe that Mercer and Bannon and Pence and all of those people have control over Trump?
I believe that they thought they did, and I believe that the intention was to put him in so they had control of it. But I believe that right now in America...
All you need to do is look at the language in terms of how Trump spoke about Israel since he's been in power as well. Like, there's foreign policy towards Israel hasn't softened any. In fact, it's became a stronger bond since Trump's been in there than it was when Obama was in power.
But I only believe that's because Trump thinks he can make money at it. Like, I genuinely don't. I don't think that Trump.
But his people know that cozying up to Israel plays well with the Christian fundamentalist right. Weirdly, it does, even though a lot of the Christian fundamentalist right don't like Jews, but they believe that having Jews in Israel and having the Temple of Solomon rebuilt is part of what should happen in the world. So they will always support Israel, and also they will support Israel over the Arabs in their eyes.
See, I believe that Trump will support anyone that he thinks he's getting a financial benefit of, and he has in the Republican Party have no control over him at all anymore. Like, I believe that they wake up every morning and they're like, what is this fucking psychopath going to do today? I believe that, let's look at, so see the next thing.
Do you believe that Trump is going to run for the next election?
Yes.
Right, so he has to keep his core support happy?
No.
He doesn't?
No.
Of course he does.
No.
He's not going to win any support for the Democrats. There's no way that Trump is going to turn the people who didn't vote for him last time towards him. Would you agree with that?
Agreed.
Right. So he has to keep the people who voted for him last time on board. That's key.
I think that because of the fucking weird mental way that the Americans do the whole fucking college electoral system weird scenario where it doesn't actually matter how many people in the country vote for your president, only matters if like fucking 3 people in California vote for him or whatever fucking weird shit that they operate. Trump's probably going to annoyingly probably win again.
It needs the same people who voted for him last time to vote for him again.
See if so off record, not anything to do with our politics or anything, the way that I believe the scenario is going to be, I can't perceive a scenario where there is a president after Trump.
No, because I understand that. I understand that belief. I would like to put my faith in the Constitution of America and the legal system of America and hope that he won't be able to subvert it to that extent.
I believe that he will. I believe that I would see if I was to be 100% honest.
I don't want us to come across hyperbolic here tonight, though.
No, don't. But I'm just being like honest off the record. I wouldn't be shocked if the 2020 election doesn't actually happen.
Well.
No.
The only way I perceive it, Trump not running in 2020 is if he's been arrested or impeached by then.
I don't think either of those two things will happen.
Quite possibly not.
I did. Do you know what I mean? For a long time I did. But now I'm looking at it where I don't believe we are living in a world.
They just jailed Paul Manafort last week. They're getting closer and closer to Manafort was his campaign manager for 5 months.
I think there's
Trump's played it off as he was his fucking T-boy. He was his fucking campaign manager for 5 months before Bannon.
I wouldn't be massively shocked if Trump didn't activate some fucking law that meant the fucking president took fucking leadership of fucking everything. Do you know what I mean?
But that would be like martial law.
It would be like martial law.
Marshal Bravestar.
Do you know why I'm actually going to say that? Because see right now in the US, they are keeping children in cages in Walmart.
Which brings us on to our next story.
So on that note, right now we're talking about a country that is the shining beacon of Western capitalist, anyone can be anything, anyone can be a true American dream ideology. That's what Trump is in charge of. But they're also putting children that have been taken from their parents into cages that are in Walmart.
You're just being a lefty liberal snowflake here, Paul.
But also they're still doing that.
No, it's actually fucking horrific. It's some of the worst imagery and optics I've seen in quite some time. Obviously, to the extent that Trump has now
today
backtracked. Yeah, today.
But
and he said he'll sign an executive order to prevent the splitting up of parents and children.
But they've already said that there's lots of the children that they don't know who their parents are and they're not going to be able to return them. So I mean, the problem is we're talking about so it seems like total conspiracy mindset to say Trump, martial law, not actually letting presidential elections go through next time. But we're talking about a country, the freest country in the world, the country that fucking fought against fucking...
Freest country in the world, my fucking
No,
arse.
but that's what America will sell America to the rest of the world. A country that fucking
They sell it to their own citizens, is that?
fought in fucking every single war to fucking free liberties, you know what I mean? We're fucking in Syria and we've been in Libya and we've been in fucking lots of the AIAs and IAs and ACs, you know what I mean?
Bringing freedom over there.
All over the place. But right now in the US, in fucking empty supermarkets are filled with fucking what can only be described as fucking dog cages full of kids, man. Like, because they've been taken off their parents.
Okay, right. So, for the fake news standpoint of this, there's been one specific image that was shared massively on social media of a crying child inside a cage, and let me just find a specific tweet here. It was basically a poor fucking Wayne crying.
We'll put the picture up, but you'll know the picture.
Yeah,
already,
we will.
You'll have seen it.
And you know, they were sort of saying, how can Trump do this? How can the president do this? And it's a picture of a little boy in like a blue and white t-shirt, and it was from Fernand R. Amandi that I saw it, and it looks like an original tweet from this guy who is, it says a 6 times lottery winner, born in the US, host at Strange Days podcast. So I think me and you should be getting in touch with this guy, Paul, because it seems that the provenance of this photograph being associated with Trump's internment camps is directly from this guy. It's not these poor...
And also, if he's won the lottery either 6 times or 6 times accumulator lottery, then he should sponsor our podcast. Hear what you say, Jerry?
It's not these poor, beautiful, innocent... I mean, I've won the lottery 6 times. It was 20 quid. Maybe it's one of those funny jokes.
I hope to fuck that's the point that he was making. How amazing, man. Like, other than the fact that he's spreading fucking fake news and that, but fucking kids in fucking cages and that.
He said it's not these poor, beautiful, innocent children, but real Donald Trump and his evil, complicit staff who belong in a cage for the rest of their lives. And it's a wee boy in a t-shirt, in a blue t-shirt, you know, a basketball t-shirt, crying inside a cage. However, Gav in the Discord chat brought to our attention today that this is not actually a photo for an internment camp. It's a photo for like a protest that was done, staged protest featuring kids in a cage, and
I seen kids in a cage at Download one year. I'm not telling jokes.
But on a rage, I'm still just a Wayne in a cage.
Wayne in a Cage was the first album by Kids in a Cage.
Ah, right, okay. Wayne in a Cage, Kids in a Cage. I remember that one actually, now you mentioned.
To be honest, I don't really want to tell jokes about this. It's fucking horrid.
Well,
I don't know why I said horrid.
Tell jokes about everything else. Horrid, it's horrid.
It's fucking horrid. Went a bit Welsh, you know. It was kind of weird. Pong the pig.
Pop the ping.
Pop the pig. It's a microwave. I know my Welsh.
My mate used to, what was it? He used to basically make up that. Am I actually be real? He said a jellyfish was a
Wibbly wobbly.
Prostatin wibbly wobbly.
Prostatin wibbly wobbly. It is. That's true. That's not even made up. That's actually true.
It's mental.
Love it.
Right. So.
See what you see. See what you see.
See what you see. Wibbly wobbly fish.
See what you see. I don't know why. That's how it works.
So.
I don't know why.
So this other picture, which we'll put both the links up for this, shows the kid inside this cage, Paul. And there's banners and stuff there. And that's him walking around. And that's the picture that was shared on social media. So the problem I have with this is that...
There's lots of real news that's already horrific. We don't need fake news for this.
Well, yeah. And also, like, it makes... based on some of the stuff we've been looking at in terms of Russia and Dugin, whatever his fucking name is, Sarkov, and their sort of modus operandi, I look at this and I think, is this... There's two scenarios that are potentially happened here, or three actually. I would propose. One, somebody's fucking shared it for shits and giggles and likes and shares like it's a game. Like, oh, loads of people will share this and I'll get attention. That's one potential scenario.
That man's won the lottery 6 times. Don't be so fucking ridiculous.
The second one, but I mean, potentially we speak to him and he say, oh, I saw it somewhere else, and I just grabbed the picture and shared it because I believed that that's what it was and I didn't check the provenance of it. The second one is that it's some...
Don't tell anyone and you can just use money.
Yeah. So you'd give us some of your 6 times lottery winnings. There's a tenner.
Is blackmail acceptable? Okay.
The second one is that someone on the left has decided, well, there's a photo of a kid in a cage. You know, I know that these optics will make Trump look bad, so I'm just going to share this and say that this is what's happened. That would disappoint me for the basic reason that there's lots of actual pictures of real suffering of children kicking about at the moment. You know, fucking share them. Don't make something up, because when it gets exposed, it detracts from the argument. The third possibility, which I weigh my conspiracy head on, and specifically with the knowledge that we've kind of garnered over the past month or two, looking at what's happening in terms of propaganda on the internet, is that someone on the right has spread this and then went, well, look, this is just the fucking left making set up, because this didn't even actually happen. They didn't put this kid in a cage, this is from a protest. You can't fucking believe anything they say, because then that excuses people to not believe the other photos, which are genuine, that they're seeing, you know? You see where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. All I would say is that although that's been shared a lot, we should maybe try and remove focus from that picture.
Yeah. I just it was a fake news aspect, so I don't...
No, I know, but the problem is, for me, is there's, even though that's a fake news aspect, it doesn't, in my mind, certainly, remove the fact that I've watched videos of being inside these ICE camps.
Yeah, fucking awful.
It's truly horrendous. I mean, there's reports that I read today, as I was telling you at dinner, where a guard had to quit his job because he refused to break up two siblings that were holding each other and crying, who were under the age of 10, both of them, because their parents had been taken off them, and he refused to split the two up when they were consoling each other. I mean...
And he was commanded to.
He was told to by his superiors. He refused to, so he quit his job. I mean, like as opposed to...
At least they didn't use a defence, which...
the man in charge said...
Well, yeah, because we saw that on Fox News yesterday. A man from the Justice Department or the Immigration Department basically saying,
relatively high up, I believe,
we're just following orders.
Yeah, just following orders. The last
I've
time
heard that somewhere before.
I used to kick about Nuremberg a fair bit, right? And it was like these trials going on, and I heard some other boy saying that it was...
And like that, this is something... It's a danger, right? Is that you know, you can't just say everybody's a Nazi. You can't just compare everything to Nazis. Oh, this is just like the Nazis. Oh, if you compare something to the Nazis, then you've lost. I think in this scenario, in this situation, it's not hyperbolic, and it's not any sort of exaggeration to compare this to the sort of stuff that was happening in Nazi Germany.
Like, the problem is when you've got... In another tweet that actually came out, and we've got a copy of it, whatever, but there's a doctor who pointed out that people who spend their entire life studying things like the concentration camps, what happened in Nazi Germany, but even before that, how concentration camps were used in, say, Africa and stuff like that by the UK, looking at
in
that...
the Boer War.
Yeah, like looking at that and looking at the
where England fought against Ronald and Frank de Boer.
It was hellish, but actually the pair of them were substantially better than any football team that England were able to put up at any given point.
I don't know. They played for Rangers.
I know, but they were probably still better than any of England starting 11, unfortunately. But yeah, so anyway, if you look at the use of concentration camps around the world, and you look at the way that they were started to where it ended up, like, there is no outcome that starts the way that we are seeing in America that doesn't end up really shitty for lots of people. Like, it always does. And like, yes, there's been a backlash, but Trump is only fucking recoiling here and fucking going back in the scenario. Like, I watched a fucking speech by him in the last couple of days talking about how a country has to have borders and you have to protect your people in your country.
But he didn't spell borders right.
Probably not.
It was BOARDERS.
Oh, I'm not sure about that, but I heard him talking about it though. And he was saying
probably said it wrong too. Probably said BOARDERS.
Probably. But he was saying that a country has to have borders and he has to protect his people, when this is a horrible thing, but it's something that like essentially has to happen. The only reason he's recording here, because you've got Sweden and Germany and fucking France, and not the UK from a political point of view, but the UK from a celebrity point of view, and these people who are openly going out.
See, I disagree. I don't think that has any effect on him whatsoever.
I know you don't, but I believe it has effect on... I'm not saying on him, but it does have an effect on him. As in,
yeah, but I think
there's people who have came to him because this effect has happened. Like, the reason that people are like, you have to change this, is because if they turn on the TV and turn to any channel on any nation in any place in the world,
they're talking about this.
They're talking about this. There's people, like I said, in France and Germany and the UK. There's fucking like, I'm going to make up a scenario here that I don't even know is true, but there's like fucking like, see when like fucking Holla Willoughby and fucking Paul Scofield are talking about it in Good Morning TV.
Philip.
Any of them. Any of the Scofields. He's da, Stephen. Any of them.
Wee Jimmy.
Jimmy Scofield. They're...
oh, little Jimmy Scofield.
He's a wee boy. No matter who's talking about
He's not in a cage.
Yet.
Just wait till he goes to Disneyland.
Wait till I goes to...
We no fucking visa.
Wait till he goes to his Mexican ma. But when they're talking about it, and they're talking about how
you're thinking about Jesus Schofield.
I'm Jesus Schofield. That's my
It's a wee Mexican Schofield.
That's my wee Mexican voice. Anyway, when they're talking about it, the problem you've got is it then creates an international issue that's weird, that you can't control anymore, when like random TV celebrities.
Yeah, but again, I don't think fucking Trump gives a fuck about any of that.
Trump.
But it's Trump as the guy whose mind you need to change on this, because he's a guy who's like, oh, well, I'll sign an executive order to change my mind. Like, he's not known for backing down because of general consensus.
I agree that, but his sons and his daughter and his wife.
So this is what I believe. Like, I believe that from my understanding, just from reading stuff about him and whatever, is that for him to have changed his mind on this, it would had to have come from somebody within his inner circle saying to him, this is not cool.
And say
Ivanka. Yeah, I would say Ivanka. Yeah.
Because
not that I think that makes her in any way a better person or what. I think she's still a fucking shithouse.
Because he wants to dick her.
But I mean, like,
he said that.
She's still.
He said
that exactly.
He says, if you were my daughter, I'd dick you. I'm pretty certain he said that exact sentence.
He's I think she's still a bit of a fucking arsehole.
Well, she's an absolute bellend.
But I think, like, you know,
she understands politics as in.
Well, also, like, there must be, like, you can't look at those images as, like, as a fucking father or mother who's
I believe none of them have any hearts.
Oh no, like, well, I wouldn't say that necessarily. Like,
I would.
I think
What's
probably.
the name of the wife again? Melina.
I think Melania.
Is she the one that's maybe dead?
Got kids and
is she
stuff.
The one that's
like,
maybe dead?
You can't tell me she's not looking at those Wayne's crying and going, "That's fucking awful."
Is she not the one that's maybe dead? She like disappeared.
She showed up a couple of weeks later.
Did she? Was she like? She looked right animatronic. She waxworked and at a distance and a war.
Who fucking cares? Serves her right.
For what?
Marrying him.
She can speak 7 languages. She
Yeah,
can
so
speak
what-
help in all 7 languages.
So what did she fucking marry him for?
Because he's loaded
Exactly.
and she's massively huge fan of golf.
Aye. Bollocks. She's basically a fucking prostitute, like.
I think she's okay in the grand scheme of things.
No, she's
I think
fine.
if I had to choose,
But I
a
think her motivations are fucking
I think
questionable.
See if I had to choose a Trump to come round to my house, to
It would
have
be
dinner,
Melania.
I would absolutely definitely
Definitely,
do that.
definitely.
Because
Would
I
you-
know
or
I
maybe,
would. I
or
would
maybe Don Junior, because look at the fucking state of him.
because like I don't think, and including fucking Ivanka, I don't think there is another Trump that I wouldn't punch. So
Yeah, no, I agree.
So-
like, and Jared Kushner's a fucking horrible.
oh, I'd punch him twice. I'd punch him so hard his dad feel it in jail.
But the point I'm making is that I believe that the reason Trump has changed his mind is because somebody in his inner circle has sort of took him aside and said, "You
This
can't."
is a PR nightmare.
Yeah,
No, but I believe it, and I believe it's his daughter. I mean, the only reason I believe it's his daughter because I'm relatively confident neither of his sons can fucking work a TV control, and his wife is possibly dead. So it only leaves his daughter.
and if she's not really dead, she's definitely dead inside.
I mean, I think that goes without saying.
So
So that was cheery. It was a cheery chat.
but in terms of the camps and stuff, like, you would agree with me that. Well, okay, so you spoke about sort of people comparing it to the Holocaust, and whatever. There's a tweet here from a woman called Aviva Dodge, who has said, "I've seen several tweets comparing this to Nazis, the Holocaust, and saying things like, 'This is how it begins.' I teach Holocaust literature, so let me be clear. This isn't how it began. This is already several stages along the way." And that links to a tweet from Lauren Duca showing official US government footage of the quote-unquote not cages at the border, which are definitely fucking cages, as you can see, Paul.
They're more like fenced off areas.
That has a roof,
Aye, fenced off roofed areas.
and the roof is made of fence.
Right, but it depends. It's a
Pretty cagey.
It's a cuboid fence
So
area.
does it have to have a cage bottom to be a cage? Is that what we're saying?
Even then, because there'll be a cuboid fenced area. So I think it's to do with the. Square footage internally.
Right.
Because
So if
if
it's a large cage, is what we're
No. Because think about it. So see if
it's
you
an enclosure.
an enclosure.
Like if you went to the zoo, is that what
Exactly,
you're
that's
saying?
what
Oh, like
I'm
if you
saying.
went to the zoo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ah, right,
So,
okay.
like, so see,
That makes it sound so much better.
You wouldn't say that tiger's in a cage. You'd be like, that tiger's in a tiger enclosure.
Right.
But it's
You might say it was in a cage still.
fundamentally a cage, though.
Yeah.
But it's an enclosure. So that's a child.
If I was the PR person for the zoo,
That's a child enclosure.
I would say that it wasn't a cage. But if I was an animal rights activist, I would say it's a cage.
If you were an animal rights activist, we probably wouldn't be having this podcast.
Why?
Because have you met many active animal rights activists? They say things like, that person deserved to die as long as that dog survived. No, sir, you're a retard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in favour of saving humanity before the dogs.
That's what it says in your t-shirt.
It is. It's a big T-shirt, but you know.
I'm going to make a t-shirt this week that says "Save Humanity."
But I believe that exact phrase is how Trump first found common ground with Kim Jong-un.
Doubt it. He's all for eating dogs
Well, that was the point. I was
and
making.
people.
Oh, and people.
See, you didn't let me finish.
Ah.
Let me finish.
He's all out for eating people and their tapeworms.
That's the taste of it.
So is that us?
I think so. Thankfully, because we've been doing this, like, honestly, no word to lie, it's about a 2.5 long hour episode.
Right. Peace out.
Yeah, catch you guys. Bye.